So many recipes to share. So many cooks in the kitchen with meals for you to prepare. We've got fruits and grains, veggies and beans, more healthy food than you've ever seen. So many cooks in the kitchen, plant-based meals to prepare. So many cooks in the kitchen with ideas we're happy to share.
Hello, welcome to our show. My name is Dilip Barman. I'm in Durham, North Carolina, and I'm a Food for Life instructor. Food for Life is a nutrition education program of the Physicians Committee. There's about 300 of us around the world, and we specialize in working in the kitchen. We enjoy cooking a variety of plant-based foods, and we know something about nutrition as well. So we teach a variety of classes, and we started this program called So Many Cooks in the Kitchen. There's about 30 of us also around the world, and we meet every month. And I know some of you have joined us from the beginning, so welcome back to another one of our shows. And if this is your first one, welcome. We hope that you will come to all of our future shows as well, or as many as you can make. So today our topic is so many summer soups and salads. Soups, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, summer is on the horizon. It's a pretty warm day here in North Carolina. And you might think, Dilip, I don't like the idea of soup in the summer. Soup makes me think of a warm autumn day, or getting warm on an autumn day, or during the cold of winter. So we're going to be making some cold soups. And we have so many neat things we're making today. We're going to be making there's about a dozen of us from around the United States. We have 3 presenters, cooks in the kitchen, overseas as well. So some of the things we'll be making include a cold cucumber soup with dill, a chilled avocado soup, my gazpacho, which is a traditional cold soup, a strawberry mint dessert soup. I can't wait to see Carolyn Strickland present that. And then a number of salads, orange and bean salad, a strawberry salad, a melon salad, Mexican street corn salad, Greek potato salad, and more. So we have a lot in store for you. All the recipes are available. We will share the link. We have, I think it's a 33-page document. It has all of our recipes. Our good friend Brenda Davis, registered dietitian, a great author and one of my favorite nutritionists, has yet again written an appendix with some information about soups and salads for the summer. So today I'm going to start off the show with gazpacho. Gazpacho is a traditional soup that originated in what was then called Hispania. So if you've studied the Roman Empire a little bit, that was the western reaches of the Roman Empire. And they brought with them their concoctions of stale bread, olives, raw vegetables. And so it's now traditional in what is Spain, and all southern Spain, and also Portugal. And it's traditionally made with a tomato base. So it's a savory, sweet soup. And one thing I like in my cooking is I like to look for interesting combinations. So the traditional gazpacho is a tomato base with raw blended vegetables and is served cold. I'll tell you a nice story. Before I was married, we were traveling to Key West. And one thing I found is I love going to vegan and vegetarian restaurants. We've been vegan for a long time. But I also like going to non-vegetarian restaurants to encourage them and to show restaurants there's a demand for vegan food. And a chef should be able to create a nice vegan dish. I usually call in advance if they don't have anything on their menu that's explicitly vegan. So we found in Old Town Key West a restaurant, and I just checked, it's still around. We went there maybe 15 years ago, called Café Soleil. And it was a French restaurant, a gourmet French restaurant, and they had a vegan and vegetarian menu, and it included gazpacho. Until that point, that was the best gazpacho I've ever had. It was, as I said, a cold soup with raw vegetables. It was so good, we went back for a second meal before. I think it was our last meal before leaving Key West. So there are new versions of gazpacho. You can use your imagination and come up with other ways of making gazpacho. So it's not my invention, but some folks have come up with the idea of using watermelon. And I discovered a recipe back in around 2010, 2012 for watermelon gazpacho. And for Father's Day, my daughter was quite young then. I made for myself, for my family, a watermelon gazpacho. And I changed the recipe, and I'm sharing with you today my recipe. So I like the watermelon because you can see watermelon here. I have a watermelon there. Watermelon is so deep in color, and that tells you that it's full of phytochemicals. It is the single strongest food source, dietary source, both for lycopene and citrulline. Lycopene is great for heart health, and lycopene also helps if you're fighting cancer or to avoid getting cancer. It's very powerful. Citrulline is great for reducing blood pressure. The best part of citrulline is actually, if you look at the watermelon, the part that's white that we usually don't eat, closest to the flesh, that's where the citrulline is strongest. So it's not that you have to eat all the white part, but just be aware that that's where a lot of the nutrition is. And let's take a quick survey of the kinds of ingredients we're going to be using. So watermelon is the star, but this isn't a sweet soup. We also have onions and garlic. The garlic is really important. And so is the onion. In this dish, the garlic is more important. I like to use sweet onions. You can see the sweet onion here. This is a Vidalia onion. It's kind of flattened. I much prefer sweet onions to yellow onions. But you know, in this dish, if you want, you can actually use a red onion. And you might be saying, but Dilip, this is a soup and you have a jalapeno with watermelon. I do, and we'll talk more about that. And then we're going to be using some bell peppers. And you can see here some bell peppers I have. So you can get different colored bell peppers. And generally, I like the colored bell peppers. And you can get these little ones, too, which are really nice. But, you know, for the gazpacho, I actually prefer green bell pepper for contrast with the watermelon, the green and red. So I'm going to be using green bell pepper. My hand's nice and clean. And then we also have tomato sauce. And you can buy your favorite marinara or just a regular tomato sauce. You can make this dish your own, and you can make it as thick or thin as you want. If you want it to be thicker, then instead of using tomato sauce, you can use tomato paste. Okay, so that's fine. And it uses a little bit of lemon juice. I was tempted, if you saw our show last week, I'm a big fan of citrus, and I love triple cross tangerine, and I was tempted to actually use triple cross juice. I can't believe that triple cross we're still getting it. Triple cross is a winter food. And we have watermelon, too. Isn't that amazing? Citrus and watermelon, good citrus and watermelon. I'm actually shopping later today, and I'm wondering if they'll still have more triple cross. Yesterday, we made a batch of it, and my wife suggested, how about trying a little triple cross, which I was nibbling on the side with the gazpacho, and I did, and I didn't think the combination was so good. So let's get to work. We're going to make this gazpacho. It's really quite easy. I've chopped a watermelon. And I have an interesting story about the watermelon. I bought a seedless watermelon, and we prefer organic. I'm okay with a non-organic watermelon because watermelon rind is so thick. But I wanted to have an extra watermelon for the show, and I ran out yesterday, and I couldn't find organic watermelon. So this actually is not organic watermelon. And my daughter pointed something interesting out. This organic watermelon is really heavy, and it's much denser. I don't know if that's an attribute of this specific specimen or if organic watermelons are thick or a particular variety. But this big watermelon we bought yesterday is not as heavy as that small one. So anyhow, I chopped the watermelon and I put it in a bowl. So that was pretty easy. I just used a big knife and cut the watermelon, which you're probably used to doing around in the summer. And then I'm going to demonstrate cucumber. I'm going to show you something interesting about cucumber. So here's a cucumber, an organic cucumber. And I'm going to tell you an interesting story that comes from my mom. My mom is from India, and my mom has a superstition. And the superstition is you should make a grid, and then you kind of rub the cucumber. Can you see that in the camera? And I don't know if it means anything or if it's just a superstition. I do it just to honor my mom because she taught me some of my cooking. And then she would argue that by doing this, making the tic-tac-toe grid, you are removing any poison from cucumber. And maybe she's referring to nightshade bitterness. Cucumber can have some bitterness. So I don't know if it really does anything, but I do honor that tradition. And then a lot of times when you cook with cucumber, you want to remove the seeds. To be honest, I like the seeds. They're light and they're juicy, and I usually include it in the gazpacho, but I'll show you how to remove the seeds. I'm going to cut the cucumber in half, like that. And then I'm going to get a teaspoon. I happen to have a tablespoon here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply rub the teaspoon like this. I'm going to just scoop out the seeds, and they should come right out. Okay, so pretty easy. You can use a melon ball or two. That works well. So as I said, when I do this often in the summer, I will remove the seeds and I'll nibble on them because they're juicy and good. But let's remove them just so you know how to do it. Okay. Now in the recipe, I have suggested peeling the cucumber. That's all going to compost. But if you are eating organic, then you don't need to remove the skin. And I like the color and the additional nutrients. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to cut this. I want to have thin strips of cucumber, which is what I'm doing. Now, in the interest of time, because you guys don't want to see me chopping cucumber, if I had the benefit of more time, I would actually cut these one more time. These are chunks, and they'll be fine in the soup. But the purist of me would say it's better to cut it one more time and make it a little thinner. But it's fine. Okay, so I'm just going to put this in. So, and it's already looking pretty. The thing I like about this is that you don't generally think of cucumber and watermelon together, and the colors themselves are gorgeous. So let me just do a quick cut. And again, in the interest of time, I'm being lazy. This is a fun dish to take your time. You're getting ready for a 4th of July party if you're in the United States, or a summer picnic or something. So put some nice tunes on and enjoy chopping. So, but I'm going to just be a little bit faster with that. Okay. So cucumber. I've prepared all the other ingredients just for interest of time, but I thought I'd show you the trick about cucumber, about removing seeds and what my mom would do. Okay, so I'm going to add, just taking a look at my recipe, I'm going to add onion. So I took about a cup of onion and I chopped it, and all the sizes are in the recipe. This is about 3/8 of an inch of chop. That goes in. Okay, so there's the onion. Okay, we're going to add garlic now. So here's my garlic, and you want a coarse chunk of the garlic. Okay, so pretty coarse. Okay, so there goes the garlic. Bell pepper. So here's my bell pepper that I chopped. So a medium bell pepper will be a cup and a half. So there it goes. Okay. And my bowl is overflowing, but that's okay because when I blend, the watermelon will cook down. I'm going to optionally add celery. My wife doesn't like celery, so I'm not using celery. Celery goes really great in this. It gives you a good crunch. And jalapeno, so be careful with jalapeno. So I showed you this jalapeno before, this organic jalapeno. Be aware of who's eating the soup. My daughter will be sampling, and she doesn't like it really hot. So I just put a little bit of jalapeno, and I cut it pretty coarsely so that the non-blended ones we can see. And then I am going to, that's it. I'm going to put 60% of this in my blender. So let's get the blender down here. So I'm going to put most of this into the blender, but not all of it. Because we want a slurry, but we want chunks too. Okay. And while I'm doing this, if you think of any questions, feel free to post. I will be behind the scenes in about 5-10 minutes, and I can answer. We'll have a question and answer at the end. And if you have a general question, other cooks in the kitchen are answering questions now. And we welcome you whether you're watching us from Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, or if you're seeing this after the fact recorded, or if you're seeing this on Plant-Based Network edited. So welcome wherever you are. Okay. I do teach math, but in cooking, numbers are often not critical to be exact. So I'm going to call that 60%, something like that. Okay. So most of things are in my blender. I have a heavy-duty blender called a Vitamix, and it's going to be really loud in a second. So I ask your forgiveness for that. You don't need an expensive blender for this, and I don't want to blend it too much. I do have my tamper if I have to push the ingredients down. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to go on low. There. we're done. And so we have a slurry. It's not fully liquefied, but it's a slurry. So no more than 5, 6 seconds, 10 seconds. I'm going to put it in. Okay, it's smelling really good. And now I'm going to mix in, I have some tomato sauce. So here comes the tomato sauce. I could have blended the tomato sauce. Okay. And I'm going to ask my daughter to join us. She's going to do some sampling. So my daughter is, my wife's saying something. Yeah. So here's some more cucumber. I'm going to add some lemon juice. Okay. And I'm going to add a little salt. I'm going to add salt to taste. I'm not going to measure, but it's going to be about a teaspoon or so. I like to undersalt, and then people can add salt at the table. And I'm going to use some fresh ground black pepper, which adds a nice flavor. You may want to add less black pepper than usual with the jalapeno. So there's the black pepper. And that's it. So Anu, come join us. Anu is one of the kids in the kitchen. So several of us have children who are who enjoy cooking. So next week, Anu, the kids in the kitchen are doing a summer foods program, right?
Yep.
No, come closer. So tell us what you are thinking of making for summer foods.
Popsicles?
Okay. What kind of popsicle are you thinking of making?
I don't know.
Okay, so you haven't decided yet?
No.
Are you excited for the show?
Yes.
Yeah, should be a fun show. So here's the watermelon gazpacho. You can see it still has chunks, and it's a slurry. So tell me what you think, sweetie.
Quite good.
Quite good? It's not too hot with jalapeno, is it? Hmm? How would you characterize the flavor?
Like watermelon salsa.
And there you have it. So this is an easy dish. The hardest thing is doing the chopping. I hope you'll try this at home and wait till you see what the other cooks in the kitchen are making today. Speaking of which, we move on now to Scottsdale, Arizona, and my colleague Tommy Robertson, who's going to be making a cold cucumber soup with dill. Take it away, Tammy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome for wherever you are watching us today. Thank you so much for that invitation to join everybody, Dilla. And again, my name is Tammy Robertson. I am a registered nurse and also a Food for Life instructor, hailing from Scottsdale, Arizona, where Dilla, you're talking about heat, but I think we have everybody beat. Today it's going to be about 41 degrees centigrade, or about 106 Fahrenheit. So yes, we do like our cold soups here for the summer. So I'm going to be preparing for all of you a wonderful chilled summer cucumber and dill soup. So let's get right into it. First thing is, for equipment wise, we're going to be using a Vitamix blender. You can use any blender, it doesn't necessarily have to be Vitamix. And let's go through our ingredients. I've got some silken tofu. This I'm using soft silken tofu. Silken tofu comes in different varieties. Here's extra firm. These two happen to be shelf stable. And so you can get either shelf stable or you can get fresh that has to be refrigerated. We also have 5 cups of English cucumbers that are peeled, seeded, and cut into smaller bits. We're going to return to that in just a moment. And then we've got some wonderful garlic cloves. We've got fresh basil right from my garden. We've got some spring onions or scallions or green onions. We also have some vegetable broth, and for the vegetable broth, I am using this organic, low-sodium vegetable broth. We also have a little bit of lemon juice, and we've got salt and a little bit of salt and white pepper. And then to finish us all off and take us home, we've got fresh dill. Be sure to use fresh and not any other type of dill, because the flavors are just so much better. All right, so to begin with, first things first, I'm going to put in the Vitamix, our veggie broth. And then we're gonna put in the cucumber. And so I want to talk to you all a little bit about cucumber. So cucumbers are very high in water content and very low in calories. And just in case if you didn't catch it when Dylan was showing you, you're getting a replay right now. So basically I've taken this cucumber and I've cut it into halves, and then I'm going to de-seed. And as Dylan already showed you, here I have a serrated grapefruit spoon you can use, or you can also, and just take it and scrape it down and just get those seeds out. And with a high-speed blender, a lot of times it's not even going to matter that much, because if you do have a high-speed blender, you can always just chuck it in there and you'll never know that the seeds are in there. Or just use a regular teaspoon and one fell swoop. And then I'm just going to cut these into pieces. Now, talking about our cucumber, Dylan hit a little bit on cucumbers and the benefits of cucumbers, but they contain really important vitamins and minerals. Eating cucumbers with the peel, as I believe Dylan did in his recipe, really increases the nutrient content. Cucumbers also can be used as a part of since they are so low in calories, low-calorie topping for many dishes can help aid in weight loss. Cucumbers are about 96% water content, and then lots of fiber as well as in there, and that water content can help increase with your hydration to help you meet daily fluid needs. Also, cucumbers contain lots of antioxidants, including flavonoids and tannins, which prevent the accumulation of harmful free radicals and can help to reduce the risk of certain types of chronic diseases because it's anti-inflammatory. And then inflammation is definitely associated with things like cardiovascular disease and diabetes and autoimmune conditions, depression, and cancer. So that's definitely good. And of course, it's also going to help our immune system. And also, cucumbers belong to the family called Cucurbitaceae. Now that will not be on the test. Cucurbitaceae, and Cucurbitaceae family of plants contain high level of bitter nutrients, which Dilip kind of alluded to as well, known as cucurbitacins. That will not be on the test either. And cucurbitacins help to prevent cancer by stopping cancer cells from spreading. So again, really, really good. Fiber, water, and some studies have shown that the wonderful cucumber can also help reduce your blood sugar as well. So a win-win for cucumber. All right, set that aside, and we're going to put the rest of our ingredients. So this tofu, I'm going to go ahead and put that in. And then we're going to put our rest of our ingredients in here. And then we're going to get this blended up. And I got my tamper here. And always have a little bit of extra liquid just in case you need to add a little bit extra. Now keep in mind, when you put this, so when you prepare this, it's best to be put in the refrigerator for about 2 to 4 hours prior to serving. It'll help thicken up, and it's just going to taste amazing. So I'm keeping my veggie broth here on standby just in case I need to add a little bit more fluid, more water, but you can use water as well. I'm just using my tamper to get everything down there to start off with. And now it's going to get a little bit loud. Make sure that we get everything on here. All right. Okay, here we go. We're going to blend for about a minute. I apologize for the noise. Here we go. recipe away. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. And now, see how quick and easy that was? Now we're going to pour this. And again, you can ladle it. It's frothy at the moment, but once it has been in the refrigerator, the froth will not be so visible. And then we top this with our lovely dill. The reason why you don't put dill in there is because you don't want it, you want to be able to see that beautiful green color and flecks of dill. All right. And let me come and show you what this looks like. It's amazing lime green color. Look at that. There we go. Isn't that gorgeous? All right. 2 to 4 hours in the refrigerator and you are good to go with a wonderful summer soup. And that is it for me. Again, my name is Tammy Robertson, president and founder of Cooking on the Veg, Health and Wellness. And I am now going to be turning it over. We're going to go all the way across the world, all the way to the United Arab Emirates in Abu Dhabi. And John Ann has got a wonderful soup prepared for us. John Ann, take it away.
Thank you, Tammy. Wow. I really appreciated you telling me all about the cucumbers. Now I'm going to eat even more. And good news, my soup has it in it too. So, marhaba, everybody, as they say here, and welcome to my kitchen in Abu Dhabi. Tonight, in the US, it's only the afternoon, but it's 10:30 here now. So it's Saturday Night Live from Abu Dhabi. As Tammy was talking about heat, we beat them to it. We're much warmer than Arizona, Tammy. I hate to tell you, but we've reached 45 and more degrees already. So that gets us to about 115-ish. So maybe next time we'll check in to see who's even warmer. Having said that, that's why I also have a recipe for a chilled soup, and mine is a chilled avocado soup. It's I've got the inspiration from a wonderful book by Otto Lengi. It's called Flavor. His recipes are amazing. If you haven't checked out his recipes, please do so. But I have adapted his recipe to our whole food, plant-based, no oil way of eating. Therefore, it's gotten incredibly more simplified. However, it hasn't lost the flavor. So this soup is very easy. And as you can see on my countertop, there are a lot of green ingredients. The main one is avocados. We have about 2 avocados this size. They give you about 250, 260 grams of avocado. And the recipe calls for half a cucumber, but not if your cucumbers are this tiny. I've used 2.5 of these to get 120 grams of cucumbers that's necessary for the soup. And then there is frozen peas. So if you're like me and want your soup really quickly, if you can keep all your ingredients in the fridge and your peas frozen, so once you're done with the soup, it's ready to go. Otherwise, you can also prepare it a day or two ahead of time and put it in the fridge and serve it chilled. So here I'm going to show you how to make this soup. I have my ingredients already cut, so to save one step. The soup also has 400 milliliters of water in it. That's about a cup and 3/4. Depending on your blender, you do the sequence of ingredients. On mine, I put the liquid first. So here goes my water. And then I add the lovely, really ripe avocados. It's going to be splattering a little bit. And the cucumbers. And I'm going to give it a buzz before I add any further ingredients, because sometimes it's temperamental So I just want to give them a go before adding more. So I will, it's getting nice and green. Maybe I can call it the green, chilled green soup. So I add also my frozen peas and a nice generous pinch of salt. See, there it is. You can always adjust the salt and add more or less or no salt if you don't use salt for health reasons. So here goes my vitamins. Almost done. A lot of noise, but we're done. It's that easy. So this is one part of the recipe. I say that there are, let's say, 3 layers to this recipe. Sorry, licking my fingers. So the soup is done. You saw how easy that was. You can now pour the soup into your serving bowl, or you can chill it if it's not time yet. I'm going to put it right here. So here's my soup. That's done. The second layer is, and what gives really a lot of flavor, is the cucumber salsa. For this, you chop pretty much about a half of this tiny cucumber into very, very small pieces. You put together with it a tablespoon of lemon juice and a teaspoon of lemon zest, and about a half a spicy chili like this, chopped also really nice and fine, and salt. You mix those and keep them aside before you start the soup, so all the flavors are into each other and really nicely marinated. And I've given you also the recipe for cashew sour cream. To this cashew sour cream, I've added a little bit of garlic to make it more intensely flavored. So here's my soup. Here's a dollop of my cashew sour cream and a nice generous dollop of this delicious cucumber salsa, and maybe a little bit of the juices of it because it's nice and spicy and sour, and dill. All these chilled summer soups have a common ingredient, and it's the dill. Fresh dill is amazing. So then I have also some fresh dill to sprinkle on my soup. And here we are. You have a lovely, amazing, and delicious chilled summer soup. I just take a taste. You can adjust the salt to your taste and liking. Add some pepper if you wish. And if you don't like the monochromatic look of this, you can add a red chili instead, and your soup is ready in a jiffy. I want to send a special thanks to a group of people who've helped me get ready for tonight, and that was the shop called Tavola, where I bought my Vitamix. We were having some troubles, and they came to my rescue, so I'd like to thank the manager, Ali, and his team for speeding up the repair of my Vitamix and making it ready for the show tonight. So I'm grateful for their help. And that's my recipe. If you have any questions, please don't forget, post them on Facebook. And remember, our Recipes are online for you to use if you would like. And remember, do try this at home. And before I say goodbye, I'd like to introduce to you my colleague and friend, Carolyn Strickland from Montgomery, Alabama. And my salam from Abu Dhabi. Hi.
Thank you, Diamond. Hi, I'm Carolyn in Montgomery, Alabama, and it is not as hot here as it is in Abu Dhabi. So you win, Jonan. It's definitely hotter there, although we've definitely got a lot of humidity. I think we're at about 90% humidity today, so it is quite warm, which is why, yes, we're having chilled soups for summer. So I have a dessert soup, and I do not have cucumbers in my soup. So everybody else has had cucumbers. I don't have cucumbers. What I do have today is strawberries. So this was some strawberries I just got this morning at our local farmers market. They are just beautiful and deep, deep red. Interestingly, strawberries are not actually berries. They are not really a fruit or a berry, but the enlarged receptacle of the strawberry flower. But we treat them like berries, and they are super, super high in vitamin C. In fact, 8 of these have more vitamin C than one big navel orange. So that's a lot of vitamin C. They also have lycopene, potassium, and magnesium. They are super, super good for you. So what we're going to start with is strawberries, but first I want to ask a little quiz. So does anybody know what this little contraption is? This utensil. And this utensil that goes in this utensil. Anybody have a guess? If you know what this is called, go ahead and put it in the comments right now. So we'll see who can guess first what this is called, because I'm going to be using this today. Okay. So I set that aside for just a second. What we're starting with is 24 ounces of strawberries. And I've already cut up, washed, and hulled 24 ounces of strawberries, which is roughly 4 cups of strawberries. So we're going to put them in the Vitamix. Like everybody else, I'm also using my Vitamix today. Okay. And we'll just turn it on really quickly because we want to puree all of the strawberries. This is a chilled strawberry coconut dessert soup with mint, and it's so, so good. But first we have to puree the strawberries. That's probably good. Strawberries are very watery and they will puree down pretty quickly. Okay. So we're going to be using this. Has anybody guessed what this is called yet? Okay, this is a chinois. This is it's a French utensil that has a very fine mesh to it. So you could use a regular wider open mesh strainer, but what we're trying to do is get all of the seeds out. So the fine mesh strainer of the chinois works much better than a regular mesh strainer. So this will really get the seeds out, but still let all of the really nice liquid come through, and it just takes the seeds out. So I'm going to take a bowl and pour this liquid right into the chinois. If you don't have a chinois, you can just use a mesh strainer of any kind, just not a very wide open regular strainer. You need a mesh strainer, and it'll come through here. You can see it pouring through, and it takes about 5 minutes or so. So I am not going to make you stand here and watch me do that for so long. So I'm going to set that aside because I have already strained 24 ounces of strawberries. So this is all strained already. And at the bottom of that chinois, you're going to end up with a kind of a sludge or a slurry of seeds. Now, you could put that on your compost, but I would warn you that if you put that in your compost, you're going to be growing strawberries everywhere because those little seeds are going to sprout all over your yard wherever you use your compost. So unless you want strawberries in all of your vegetable gardens, I would probably toss out all the seeds that are at the bottom. So it comes down to this little couple tablespoons left of just a sludge of strawberry seeds. So just get rid of those. And so what's left is this nice puree. It's very smooth and creamy. And then we're adding to that 3/4 of a cup of coconut milk. And what I have is light organic coconut milk, but you want to use the light coconut milk. Do not put it in the refrigerator first because it'll start separating out. You want to actually take the can and give it a good shake, and then pour in 3/4 of a cup of that coconut milk. And then depending on how sweet or tart your strawberries are, and you can just taste and see, we'll add some agave nectar or coconut nectar, and that's up to you. And you can have maybe a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons, depending on how sweet or tart your strawberries are. The juice of about half of a lime. So, and I, just squeezed a lime, half of a lime. And remember, to get juice out of the lime easier, you want to take it and roll it on the counter a few times and give it a good push onto the counter and make it kind of soft and mushy, and you're going to get a lot more juice out of it that way. So we're adding juice of about half a lime, so 2 to 3 teaspoons. And then just a pinch of sea salt because it helps bring out the flavor. You do not have to use salt. If you don't have salt in your diet, don't use it. That's fine. But remember, if you do use salt, use iodized sea salt. Iodized salt, because iodine is an essential nutrient or an essential mineral in our diets. Ooh, this looks so pretty. And then to serve, you can make it really decorative by taking a little bowl, scooping some up into your bowl, and then topping it. We're going to top this with fresh chopped mint. So this is mint from my garden. This one is Kentucky kernel mint. We also have some peppermint, but spearmint is probably one you want to stay away from unless you want your food to taste like toothpaste. But Kentucky kernel or peppermint usually tastes a little better in food. So this is a pair of scissors my mother gave me several years ago. I don't know if anybody can see that, but they have several blades to them. So they chop things into little serrated bits. I'm just going to put a little bit of that on top. Oh, I forgot the coconut. So we have a little bit of extra coconut milk. We should do that first. So put a few drops of the coconut onto the top, and then take a toothpick and swirl that coconut through. And it makes a really pretty design in the top of your soup. I hope everybody can see that. But it's just a beautiful soup and so delicious. I made it last weekend and had my mom try it, and she said, this tastes like something you would get on a cruise ship. So, so I took that as a compliment, because cruise ships always have really good food. So this is your own cruise at home. So if you can't go on a cruise right now, I don't think any cruise lines are sailing just yet. So put on some calypso music and have a bowl of strawberry coconut mint soup, and you'll feel like you're on your own private cruise. So now I'm going to turn you over to Karen Osborne in Austin, Texas, and we're going to start our salad section, and I think Karen's making a melon salad. So hi, Karen.
Yeah, thanks, Carolyn. That looks so good and so fun. Just what I like. So yes, I am Karen Osborne in Austin, Texas, myfoodfitnessandfun.com. And I am going to be showing you a melon salad, and it's really easy and pretty and fresh. It doesn't take any time, so you can get out and have some of that summer fun instead of spending a lot of time in the kitchen. But what says summer better than melons? Melons are hydrating. The watermelon is like 92% water. Cantaloupes and honeydew are 90% water, and those are the ingredients of my salad. They all have vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. They are hydrating, like I said. They have electrolytes, which helps your body use that water better than just drinking a glass of water. And as Dilip said, the watermelon has citrulline, which actually helps your body make nitric oxide, which relaxes and dilates your blood vessels, leading to lower blood pressure. And the cantaloupe and cantaloupe and watermelon have beta carotene, lots of beta carotene, which your body converts to vitamin A when it needs it. So beta carotene is actually, it's a fat soluble vitamin. And so like if you're taking it as a supplement, you can actually take too much. You won't just excrete it like water soluble vitamins. So if you're getting it from food, your body just converts it when you need it and there's no toxicity. So yeah, and then the, well, what vitamin A is good for eye health, bone health, your immune system. And then the last melon that I'm using is the honeydew melon, which actually has lutein and zeaxanthin, which are good for your eye health. So there's a lot of good stuff. I'm going to lower my screen and we'll get started. But what I'm going to, I just want to tell you first, I'm going to cut a watermelon. And the way you want to pick a watermelon, you want them heavy for their size. And this one is, so it's almost 6 pounds for this little thing. And then you want one that is more matte, not so shiny. That means like if they're really shiny, they're not very ripe. Then you're going to look for the field spot on the bottom. Like some watermelons are just green all around. And that means they were not ripened on the vine. So this is where it was sitting on the ground. And sometimes you'll see a creamy white, off-white or yellowish, pale yellow color. But the deeper yellow color, the longer it was on the vine and the sweeter it is. And also you want to see some of these like veins. It might look like not so beautiful, but that's where the bees pollinated the flower. And the more pollination, the sweeter the watermelon. It kind of damages the membrane. But you want those. All right, so there's more than one way to cut a watermelon, but what I am going to do is just slice off. So the salad is really pretty if you have a melon baller, and I can't find mine. So I'm just gonna slice it into bite-sized pieces. I'm gonna slice off one side, and then the other. Sharpen my knife. All right. And then you have a flat surface. And I'm just going to cut the rind off. I would have done it in advance, but I wanted to show this beautiful watermelon. So I have a tendency to save the green part, even though it's not as sweet. But like Dilip said, it is nutritious. All right. So I'm just gonna slice some chunks. And for this recipe, I want 4 cups of each of my melons. So I'm just gonna quick slice it into bite-sized pieces. And let's see. Yeah, we need the other piece. Or some of it. That is probably enough. Right. And I'm going to just pour it into my bowl. These are really nice, these like silicone toppers to keep the fruit flies out. And I've already cut the honeydew melon. You can see, I'll talk about that in just a minute. But the next one I'm going to use is the cantaloupe. And this one smells really good. So you want to look for ones that are more tan than green. You can kind of see this one is just a little bit green, but mostly tan, so it's pretty ripe. It's also heavy and firm, but you want the stem end to give just a little bit, which this does. And you want to be able to smell it. It smells like a cantaloupe. on the stem end. So this is probably a really good one. And the other thing that I did, I washed it and scrubbed it with a potato brush. So you want these veins or these the webbing to be slightly raised. If it's like flat against the melon, it's not ripe enough yet. But these veins can trap bacteria, and if you put your knife through it, you can drag the bacteria into the flesh. So I just scrubbed it really well, so I won't do that. But cantaloupe doesn't produce the bacteria. But if it's grown in like a place where next to an animal farm or a ranch, the runoff can have bacteria in it and you know, come onto your cantaloupe, and then it will get trapped in here. So what I'm going to do is just cut it in half and take a spoon and remove the seeds. Really easy. And then I'm going to cut it into quarters. And then into bite-sized pieces. Let's see. I'm not sure if I need it all. So we're just going to, actually you can cut it to however you like, whatever size you like. Yeah, I should have done this part in advance. All right. This really smells good. So these are, it's just a really simple and pretty, really fresh salad. So you could just stop with the melons, but, and if you're serving it to children or people who don't like the heat, you can do that. If you want to, you can add a little lime juice, which I'm going to do. And I'm going to give it a little kick. But if you are serving it to children or people who don't like heat, you can just use like a 1/4 cup of fresh chopped mint or basil. And that's enough. So the honeydew melon that I had, honeydews ripen later in the season, so they aren't available in any stores around here right now. And I ordered some from my Imperfect Foods box, and they really are not ripe, but it's not bad. It was on its way. So the honeydew, if you want it, if it's velvety, it's not ripe. So it's smoother. This is good. You want it, it's pretty kind of green already here. You want it to be more creamy yellow, pale yellow color, or off-white, and which it's getting there. It's not going to ripen anymore. The melon should smell just a little bit like, it's not as strong of a smell as the cantaloupe, but this one doesn't smell at all. It is heavy for its size, but anyway, it's not as sweet as, also you want the cantaloupe, you were looking at the stem end. The honeydew, you're looking at the blossom end, and you want it to give a little bit, and it doesn't. But that's okay. Find my big spoon. This is really pretty with all the different colors. And the watermelon and the cantaloupe are going to be sweet. The honeydew is a little bit sweet. But what's going to make it more sweet is, I'm just going to put a little bit of lime juice. And you want to do this, so you could cut up the fruit and leave it in your fridge until you're ready to serve it. But you want to put all this on it right before you eat it, because it will draw the water out of the fruit. And if it sits in your fridge, you'll have soggy fruit with a bunch of juice in the bottom. Also, so that brightness brings out a little sweetness in the fruit. I'm going to put a little bit of salt. You don't have to do this, but the salt brings out the sweetness. Also, like you've probably heard of people putting salt on their watermelon, that it makes it sweeter. But if you ever think about why that is, the fruit is just, it's a membrane with the water. And if you put salt on the surface, it kind of brings the water up along with the fruit. Also, if you have salt on your tongue, it is a bigger contrast between the salt and the sweetness, so the fruit tastes a little more sweet. And then this is chipotle powder. It gives it a smoky kick, and you can put as much or as little as you like. And that is my yummy, quick melon salad. And again, if you're serving it to people who don't like the heat, you can leave that part out. Substitute mint or lime. And enjoy. And thank you for watching. And now we're going to go across the pond again to Denise Thoreau in Scotland. Take it away, Denise.
Hi, thanks. Oh my gosh, that melon salad looked absolutely fantastic. So everyone's talking about heat. We've just had a big downpour here in Scotland, and now it's all cleared up, so it'll be great for hiking for tomorrow, so I'm really excited about that. So I'm here from Scotland. I live in the Highlands. So if any of you are familiar with the series Outlander, that's kind of the situation here. We live in a very small village. There's actually, I live on Castle Street. There is a castle across the street. Today, I'm going to make a salad that is just super easy and really, really refreshing, because we're going to combine a couple really good things together, healthy things, citrus and beans. So I call this a 3-bean salad, and I'll kind of give you a little glance into what's in this pot. I've actually done some kidney beans that I had left over that I made in the Instapot. Then I had some white beans, and I've used some black beans that I've had. You can use any combination of bean that you want. There's no real requirement here. If it's whatever you have, and obviously you don't need to limit yourself to 3. But one of the things I love about a bean salad, making a really good healthy bean salad, is that beans are they're full of fiber, they're full of great nutrients, but they're also really filling. So if you're going somewhere and you load up on the bean salad first, other foods that maybe you're trying to stay a little bit away from, they're far less tempting because you've got all this good fiber that's already filled you up. So I've started with this. I just kind of threw them into a bowl, and that's one of the main ingredients to our bean salad, obviously. I've also done some scallions. I'll go ahead and put those in now. I've also taken some scallions, green onions, if you will. We call them salad onions. And I've just chopped about 3 or 4. Mine were kind of tiny. The recipe calls for 3, but they were kind of tiny. You can see I've used the green parts as well. I'm going to go ahead and mix those in. Just kind of give them a little stir. And I'm going to set this bowl aside for a minute and talk about some of the other things that we're going to do. Before we started the segment, I went ahead and I toasted some sesame seeds. This has kind of got an Asian flavor to it, if you will, so it's a sesame seed blend. And I just toasted them lightly. I really recommend doing that. It takes about 1 minute to toast them. I kind of cheat because I toast a whole load of them, so a couple cups of them at a time, and then I put them away. I also use them to make tahini, and I like them roasted when you do that. So I've got sesame seeds that I'm going to be adding in a minute. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to prep some oranges. So you can see I've got a bowl of oranges, and it's kind of gnarly. So I've done a couple. This recipe calls for 4 oranges, and I've taken 1, and I'm going to use it in the dressing, and I'll chat with you about that in a minute. One of the great things about this salad that I love is that it combines a lot of really nice, fresh, sweet oranges, and we're going to use all of the juice. So if it's a really warm day, this is going to be something that'll be really refreshing. You'll get a lot of natural sugar from the orange and from nothing else. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how I prepare my oranges, because it's kind of a little trick that I use quite a bit. I'm going to take an orange, and I've already done this with a couple of, with 2 oranges, but you can see I've started to cut away the skin. So I'm going to finish that up, and I'm just going to cut away the orange. I'm all for peeling oranges, but if you want to segment them, the best thing you can do is to just simply cut them off. So I'm going to cut the skins off a little bit here. And here we go. One thing I'll talk about when you want to do something like this, be sure that you use a really good sharp knife, especially for what we're about to do with them. So I'm just going to use this kind of a knife. It's about this size. And that's because you want to be able to handle it a little bit easier. If you get into your bigger chef's knife, I'm really attached to mine, but it's not really appropriate for this because it's too darn big. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how I got to this big bowl. I'm actually going to segment it over this bowl so that we can gather all the juice. I don't have it on my cutting board where it's about going to spill all over, and I'm going to have to be cleaning it up off the floor. And I don't have a dog at the moment, so I don't have anyone to help me with that chore. So I'm going to take this, and then I'm just simply going to cut very carefully between the membrane, and I'm just going to scoop it out. And hopefully it won't be too stubborn. But what happens when you do this is that you kind of get all of the juice and everything out without having to try and slice them. I've tried in the past to kind of cut them up, then I always end up with this kind of membraney bit. Now, no offense to that because it's got a lot of good fiber here, but we're going to depend on our beans to give us a whole lot of fiber, not to mention the fact that the orange itself that we're using is going to have that. Here's a stubborn guy. There we go. So you can get a little messy when you're doing this over the bowl. I won't tell you what happened when I went to do the lemon earlier. And I'm just going to kind of separate this out. That one's a little bit stubborn too. Okay. And then, as I get a little closer here, this is also really great to do with a grapefruit. Anything that's a little bit on the large side works really well. I'm just going to take that seed right out. Okay. And here we go. Once I get this pretty well, another pit in that one. Okay. Once I get this kind of chunked out, I got all the membranes out. Then I'm going to take, and I'm just going to give this a really big squeeze over the bowl. All right. We're not leaving any juice behind here. All right. And then normally I would put these into, let me get this little guy out of here. Normally I would kind of take and put them into bite-sized pieces. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of go in and I'm just sort of chunking them out just a wee bit, not a whole lot. Got a little pit there. Right. So let me dry my hands here. I'm going to take that and I'm just going to dump it right into the bowl. Good enough. Give it a little mix here. And one thing that's going to happen is that this is all going to start to mix together. This is a great, great salad to make ahead of time if you want to, because it'll last a long time and it'll just start to marinate in itself. Right. And then let's talk a little bit about what I'm going to do for the dressing, which is uber simple. I've just grabbed a handy dandy old jar and I squeezed a lemon into it. And when I started doing my oranges earlier, I looked and I thought, that's a lot. There's a lot of juice in there. So I actually just juiced a half of another orange, and admittedly, I ate the other half. And I've got that in the jar. And the only other two things we're going to need for our dressing is some turmeric. So this is just standard turmeric. I can see it's in Dutch. So I actually brought this over when I moved from the Netherlands in December. No wonder it's getting so low. I'm going to use about a half of a teaspoon of this. I'm going to stick it right into the jar. And one of the things I like about using turmeric is not just because it's got an absolutely beautiful color. It does. It's also got a really earthy, kind of a nice balancer with what you're going to add to the citrus bit of it. And it's also going to help balance out this flavor of the lemon as well. And turmeric is also a very, very healthy kind of ingredient. So if you can use that, it's great. Be mindful when you do, even the powdered, not even just the fresh, but the powdered, it can get stain a lot of your pots, and it can also stain your fingers quite a bit. So I'm also a little mindful when I use that. And then the recipe is going to call for soy or tamari. I actually am going to opt today for tamari. I have a kind that I really like. Tamari is a gluten-free version of soy sauce. One thing, if you do use tamari, you'll know, it can be quite a bit more salty, if you will, quite a bit more of the umami flavor, if you will, than a regular light soy sauce. So it's something to just be mindful of. I don't know if they make a lighter version of tamari, by the way. Right, so I'm going to take a teaspoon of that, and I'm going to add that to the jar. There we go. And then just going to take that, and I'm going to give that a good shake, making sure that the lid is on. Yes, I've done it, and the lid's come off. So that's really the sum total of my dressing. I'm going to take that, and I'm actually just going to pour that. You can see all the juices that are starting to come into the salad. It's great. Beans are going to start to absorb it. It's going to be just this kind of yummy, kind of a really rejuvenating kind of a salad. All right. Now, this is about ½ cup of sesame seed. I'm going to go ahead and just dump that in. The sesame seeds are also going to get to absorb some of the citrus as you do. What I like using sesame a lot is that sometimes you'll put nuts and things into a salad. You'll leave it for a while, and you'll come back and it'll be kind of more mushy, if you will. And sesame seeds are great because they don't. They're also, you've got a lot of calcium coming from a sesame seed. Very, very healthy. And ½ cup will give us a little bit of that Asian edge. And then finally, to be honest with you, the last thing I'm going to put in this fancy salad is some black pepper. Normally I'd measure out a ½ teaspoon of black pepper, and I would go ahead and put it into this jar. But the chances of me doing this, getting that into the jar, I'm going to have more on my work surface, so I'm just going to go ahead and give it a few hefty swigs around here. You aren't going to want any salt in a recipe like this because you've got tamari. So one of the things I suggest to people always, I never cook with salt in anything. I only add salt at the very end of cooking when I've tasted what I've cooked. And in particular, when you use anything that's a soy sauce, or if you use some vegetable broths, what you'll discover, even the ones that say they're unsalted, you'll taste something and you'll say, you know what? That's got plenty of salt for me. I don't need it. So essentially, this is the salad. We're going to let this start to soak things up. We're going to let it really, it's got lots of juice in it today. It's a great one to serve in a bowl with a spoon. That's why you want to bite-sized pieces. So you can kind of see what's going to happen there. As the beans start to soak up just a little bit of the citrus, the juice will kind of absorb in there, so there won't be quite as much. But this is just a great salad that you can make, you can take for people. It's a great filler-upper because you've got all of the fiber of the oranges, all of the fiber of the beans, everything's in there. Let me go ahead and garnish it off with the rest of my sesame seeds. Now, you could also do a few things with this salad. I rarely do because I really like it the way that it is. But you could also take this salad and you could add a few herbs if you wanted to. Basil would go really well. Just a little bit of basil would go really well there. Mint would be also a really appropriate herb if you want to add something. If you don't have the scallions available, I've also used about a half of a very tiny red onion to kind of compensate for that. So that's another thing that you can think about adding. But overall, it's just a really nice, easy, kind of wholesome salad. It's one you can take. I've served this to loads of folks. vegan and non-vegan, because you can't beat beans and this kind of an orange flavor. It's a nice one for kids because they like it and they like all the juicy stuff there. And that is really my salad for today. So here we are, and I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to rejuvenate myself because we're going to take a big hike tomorrow, and I'm going to be ready for that. So with that being done, I'm going to introduce my colleague, Nancy. Hey, Nancy.
Hi, Denise. Hi.
Hello. I think you're in the United Kingdom as well, yes?
I am, but we had sunshine today. We didn't have rain, so we did a bit better.
Oh, well, we're way far away from you. So
I'm at the other end, so thanks.
Exactly. We're technically Lower Scandinavia where I live. Well, thank you, Nancy. You're doing something with garlic and tahini, so I'm all about that. So I can't wait to see what you're cooking.
Thanks, Denise. Thanks very much, Denise. Yes. Hi, I'm Nancy Manifold. I'm a Canadian living in England for the last 35 years. I'm down in Brighton, England, which is right down on the south coast. So we actually had a bit of sun today, which was nice, I have to say. So the salad that I'm doing today is a vegetable and tofu with quinoa, and calling it a summer salad is actually a bit of a misnomer because I actually eat this about 5 times a week throughout the year. I absolutely love this salad. And what I'd like to do today is to show you what I put in it, the health benefits, and the dressing I use. And the dressing I am using, making, it's a garlic tahini dressing. It's from a website called Clean Food Dirty Girl. And it's a whole foods, no oil, plant-based website. But the clue is in the name, Clean Food Dirty Girl. Just to warn you, some of the language on the website is a little bit ripe, so just be aware of that if you go on there. But they do have great recipes and great dressings recipes. So I'm doing that one of theirs today. So for my salad, for the base of my salad, I use quinoa, and I love quinoa. So I've got a cup of quinoa. You can put whatever proportions in that you like. So I've got a cup of quinoa here. And what quinoa is, so if you can see that, what quinoa is, it's not actually a grain, it's a seed. And it's a South American, I believe it's Andean seed. And it looks like this when it's raw. So I've cooked that, and it looks very similar. I don't think you can actually see much of a difference on the screen. And it's very easy to cook. So don't be put off by the fact that you have to cook it. And what you do is rinse 2 cups of the uncooked quinoa and boil 3 cups of water. So once you bring that 3 cups of water to the boil, rinse your quinoa just to get off any sort of light dust, and then put the quinoa in the boiling water, 2 cups of quinoa, 3 cups of boiling water, and cook it for 15 minutes. And you just leave it, give it a quick stir, and just leave it, and it cooks really easily. And then it stays it keeps in the fridge for quite a while. And quinoa is fantastic because it's low in fat, it's high in protein, and it's a great source of iron. Okay, and it tastes delicious. It has a little bit of a crunch to it. It has a texture to it, which I like. So I start my base with quinoa. Okay, and it's high in fiber. It's a fantastic source of fiber. And to that, you can add whatever you like. But this is what I put in mine. And I've got it here. So I put chopped tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. Cherry tomatoes are any tomatoes are very good source of vitamin C and very good source of a phytonutrient, a plant nutrient called lycopene, which is an antioxidant, and it has been associated with a reduced risk of developing cancer of the prostate for men. And then here I've got red peppers, sweet red peppers, which I've chopped up, and I'm putting those in. And sweet red peppers are also a very good source of vitamin C. And I have chopped cucumber. And thank you, Tammy, for your phenomenal information on cucumber. I learned so much about cucumber. Anything I was going to say just pales into insignificance compared with what Tammy's already said. I was going to comment on the high water content, which is why people who eat plant-based don't necessarily get as thirsty, because so much of the food that we eat actually has a lot of water in it. So we actually eat our water. Okay, so there the cucumber is going in. And I do like a crunchy salad, I have to say. And then the last thing I've got here is kale. If there is something that is a superfood, which I don't actually believe in, but if you do believe in superfood, it's kale. So kale is a brassica, and it's here. It's a leaf, all right? It has everything. It does everything except make your cup of tea in the morning. It is absolutely phenomenal. It's a leaf, and you strip it down the middle. I like to take, you can either pull it off, or I like to cut it off and then tear it up. It's high in calcium, it's high in protein, it's high in iron, and it's a great source of fiber, and it tastes really good. So that's kale. And once so the middle bit of the kale, the middle part is actually a little bit too tough to eat raw. So what you can do, so these are the middle bits. What you can do is save them and cook them in soups and stews, because once they're cooked, they soften up. So you can do that. So I've chopped up some kale here, okay? All of these things I'm putting in here are raw. It's a raw salad, except for the quinoa, okay? So the kale is going in. And so I've got all of those colors there that you can see, which is wonderful, okay? Now, the other thing I like to do is I like a little bit of sweetness. And so what I have got are some dried cranberries, okay? So aim for dried cranberries or you can put raisins in, whichever suits you. Aim for cranberries that have a bit less sugar. They can also be artificially sweetened. For some reason, I don't understand. But, so I'm putting cranberries in. And then last, which I love, are pumpkin seeds. And pumpkin seeds, again, they're a good source of calcium, a really good source of iron and magnesium. And magnesium is important to help maintain normal blood pressure. It helps to relax the blood vessels, all right? And a good source of fiber, if I didn't say the fiber, okay? So that's going in there. And then what I'm going, so that's what I put in my salad. You can put whatever you like in your salad, obviously. Corn would go in nicely, loads of other things. But this is what I like in my salad. It has a nice crunch. And a nice flavor to it. And part of what, I'm going to make the dressing in a minute, but part of what I like to say about the reason, oh, actually, I forgot one key bit, the tofu. So here's the tofu, which I have chopped up. And this is plain tofu. Tofu comes from soybean. And this was the block. White on white is not the best way to show something, I have to say, but I don't have anything other than a white plate. So this is a block of tofu, which I have taken a lot of the moisture out of by wrapping it in paper towel, squishing it between two plates, and putting one of my heavy chopping boards on it for a few minutes, just to let the moisture go into the paper towel and get rid of it. Okay, so this is tofu, which is a bean. It's made from soybean, okay? If you don't want tofu, then you can use any bean that you like. I sometimes make this with black beans. You can make it with chickpeas, whatever you like, okay? And tofu, one thing I would like to say is tofu can be an excellent source of calcium, but you need to look on the label of the package to make sure that it is calcium set. There are different ways to produce tofu, and one way is with calcium. So you want to make sure, if you are relying on it as a source of calcium, then you need to check the ingredients to make sure that calcium is one of the ingredients. And if it is, it's a fantastic source of calcium and a fantastic source of iron and fiber. So part of the reason that I'm emphasizing all of the nutrients, the iron, the calcium, the protein, and fiber, is because all of those things come from plants. So all of the minerals, the calcium and the iron and the magnesium, they come from the soil. And the protein comes from plants. So, and this, as well as the minerals, because the plants draw up the minerals into the plant, all of the plants I have here. And I think that's worth emphasizing, because people assume, as I did for the first 54 years of my life, I'm slightly embarrassed to say, that calcium comes from cow's milk. It doesn't. It comes from plants. It's only in the cow's milk because cows eat grass and other plants. It's the same with protein. We think protein comes from beef. It doesn't. It comes from the ground. It's only in the cow because the cow ate plants. So it's just something to be aware of, that we we have this belief as we grow up that you have to get all of these things from animals. You don't. They come from plants. So just get it straight from the plants and leave out the middleman, is what I say. So this is my salad, and what I'm going to do now is show you the dressing. And I don't want to oversell it, but I'm going to, because this is the most delicious dressing I've ever had. I could almost do this as a soup because I could eat it as a soup. It is so delicious. So here I have 3/4 cup of water. So I'm putting this in. This is a high-speed blender. Make sure the bottom's put on, because the very first class I ever taught, I was so nervous I didn't screw this on properly. So as I was pouring things in, everybody watching on screen was watching all the liquid fall out the bottom. It really wasn't impressive, but it was entertaining for them. So that's 3/4 cup of water. And then this is 2/3 cup of tahini. And what tahini is it's toasted ground sesame seeds. And again, sesame seeds, similar to pumpkin seeds, great source of calcium. It's got some iron in there and lots of fiber. Okay, and it tastes delicious. And if you have somebody in your family who is allergic to peanuts, I'm being a bit careful saying this, because sometimes people who are allergic to nuts are also allergic to seeds. But if the person in your family is allergic to peanuts but not seeds, tahini does have a similar flavor. Okay, but be very careful of that. I wouldn't want anybody to get a reaction to it. 1 clove of garlic. Okay, got here. You don't need to peel it because it's going in a high-speed blender. Okay, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. You don't need a great deal of salt. And then the secret ingredients, this is aminos. So here in England, I've got liquid aminos. You can get coconut aminos. This liquid aminos is more of a soy-based. And you put in 2 tablespoons of that. And this is what gives it a really nice umami flavor. Now, if you don't have aminos, either coconut or liquid aminos, you can use soy sauce. Okay, it's just this has a little bit more of a richer flavor for this recipe. And then the last thing is brown rice vinegar. And again, if you don't have brown rice vinegar, apple cider vinegar will work quite nicely. It's just the brown rice vinegar has a little bit of a sweeter flavor. So there's 1 tablespoon of that. Okay, and put that on. And then put this lid on. These are really hard to put on. These make me nervous that it's going to shoot all over the kitchen as I put it on. But there we go. Okay. And put that on the, so I'm just turning this on for a minute. You just really need to put it on long enough to blend in the clove of garlic, because everything else is smooth. And this, I don't know how to do this gracefully, I have to say, but here we go. I'm trying to get the lid off. There we go. And this dressing, which you cannot taste because you're behind a screen, is so unbelievably good. I can't even begin to tell you. It is so good. And you put on a couple of tablespoons. You keep in mind that with the tahini, nuts are very high in fat, which is absolutely fine. So I'm putting a few tablespoons on of that. If you are aiming to lose weight, or if you have diabetes and want to keep your food fat levels down, then just be aware that any nuts and seeds are higher in fat. And then mixing this all together. And I'm having this for dinner tonight, and it is so good. One thing, I think I have enough time. I don't want to run over, but one thing I would like to say, just point out, so there's the salad. There's my tofu vegetable quinoa salad with garlic tahini dressing. And one thing I would like to say just quickly is that the component of all of this is fiber, okay? Fiber is only found in plant foods. It is not found in animal foods. Fiber is the cell wall that we cannot digest in plants. And the more fiber we eat, naturally, the fewer calories we eat. There have been many studies on this. And as we increase the fiber in our food content, we naturally eat fewer calories because fiber is so filling. And one observation that I have made before is that anybody out there who's tried to lose weight has probably tried to lose weight many, many different times. And if one is trying to lose weight on a diet that includes animal products are overall higher in fat than plant foods, and animal products contain absolutely zero fiber. And that's why people who are trying to lose weight but still consuming animal foods spend their lives being hungry, lacking energy, and having to do portion control because they have to restrict how much they eat. And it is something of a paradox that people are trying to lose weight so that they will feel better and healthier. But in the process of trying to lose weight, they feel awful with, as I say, lack of energy and hunger. And hunger is just unbeatable. So for anybody out there who's considering trying to lose weight, think about a plant-based diet because it's got the fiber, and most people, vast majority of people who try to lose weight eating a whole foods plant-based diet, actually from the start, they feel full, they don't have to count calories, and they've got lots of energy because these foods are full of energy-giving nutrients. So that's all I wanted to say. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to enjoy my dinner after this because it's actually it's 8:30 at night here. So thank you very much for listening, and I'm handing you over to Suzanne Fellows, who is also doing a chopped salad. So there.
Thank you very much, Nancy. I'm Suzanne Fellows from Farmington Hills, Michigan. I'm also a Food for Life instructor, and I very much agree with everything Nancy just shared because fiber really is the key, and eating a rainbow every day is also another key. And when you do that, you also just get in your fiber because you're having so many beautiful plant sources. And as you can see here, I have a rainbow, and none of this was painted. This all came from the ground. So we're gonna make a market chopped salad or a summer chopped salad. It's kind of season dependent. It's June here in Michigan, and it is, I believe, 85 degrees outside today. And in Michigan right now, our farmers market is pretty much filled with lettuces, cabbage, potatoes, sweet potatoes, some corn starting to come in, although it's a little bit early. And again, early for tomatoes and other vegetables, but those will come later on in the season. So in the meantime, I buy the rest of the stuff at the regular market, and everything is shipped here. So what I'd like to share with you is not just about nutrition today, but about how to make living a plant-based lifestyle easier. And to me, I think it's all about the right tools in your kitchen. So we need to have cooks in the kitchen, but we also need the right tools in the kitchen. So many people ask me if it's annoying to have to chop up all your vegetables all the time, and there are people say it's too much work, I can't do that. But the reality is, if you have the right tools, everything kind of comes really easy and very quickly, most importantly, because most of the time people are busy, in a hurry, work, kids, whatever it may be, it's time consuming. So obviously we can buy things already chopped and prepped from the store, but that becomes expensive. Not many of the organic vegetables already come prepared, shredded or chopped. Carrots do come shredded. Organic carrots you can find shredded. That's one thing that's easily found. But for the most part, the rest of the vegetables, such as onions, if you're about to make a soup, or celery or other things, they don't usually come chopped. The chopped ones that you already find are usually not organic. So I do try to follow the Environmental Working Group recommendation on the Dirty Dozen, and you can find that at their website, which I believe is ewp.org. And they have a great Dirty Dozen list of things that are the most important vegetables and fruits to purchase organically if you can afford to. Again, it's much more important to eat the fruits and vegetables if they're not organic, just conventionally grown, rather than not buy them at all. So you also want to always remember, do the best that you can do for yourself. So some of the tools I want to share with you today, and we'll sort of go through them as we make our salad. So obviously one is just your basic knife, and having a good knife skill is important. So you want to have your thumb and your index finger over the top part here, and then you grip the rest with your handle. So many of us make the mistake of holding the knife back here, and that makes everything you do so much harder and less control. So if you start with the right technique, already chopping becomes so much easier. And I also like this salad. I call it chopped because I like everything pretty tiny pieces, and it just blends well together, and it really makes for a beautiful presentation in the end. So I'm going to show you first how I cut this cabbage in here so finely. I don't know if you can see it real well, but they're really little pieces of cabbage that are in here. Just, I don't know, maybe 1/4 inch each. And the one trick for doing that is just cutting your cabbage in half first, which I've already done here. And the core was at the bottom, so I cut it from the top down. And then you're going to flip your cabbage over, and you're going to take your knife, and obviously I would recommend doing this on the board, but just for right now, I'm just going to show you that what I'm trying to do is just cut out this core here. So all you need to do are make 2 V cuts, and then that core pops right out. From there, you can slice your cabbage lengthwise, and I'll just do a couple just to demonstrate. They're about 1/4 inch apart, and you can go across the whole cabbage, and then you just turn it, and keeping the point of your knife down, you kind of just work your way back towards your fingers, being very cautious, and that's how you get a fine chop, because the cabbage is already divided within itself the way a cabbage is layers. So we'll just add that to this one, to our big salad here. And the next we have zucchini. And now if you look at my zucchini, I've cut it into little pieces. As you can see how small they are. They're probably about, I don't know, 1/4 inch maybe even smaller than that. And I have this great tool that is also really fun for kids. This one happens to be called the Vidalia Chop Wizard, and it's by Progressive, but I know other brands carry them, and I believe it was like a Seen on TV item a long time ago, but they come with 2 different chopping boards inside, and this one has 1/4 inch chop, and this one is probably 1/8 inch chop within it. And you set in your board, you take whatever vegetable you're going to chop, and in this case I used the zucchini, and you just push down. I need to grab another little piece so I can just demonstrate for you. So I cut my slice of zucchini, and you put it right on there. You set it down, and you literally just bang it through, and now you're left with all these little pieces of finely chopped zucchini. So this tool is really great. So you can give a bunch of variety to your salad and sizes. So as we go through, you'll see that the zucchini that we're going to add here is at the smaller setting. And I use for the orange pepper, I just used the little bit of the larger setting. And again, this pops through so easily. So we'll add the orange pepper. And then again, I did the same thing with the seedless cucumber. And you can slice this either way. You can slice it right down the cucumber to make circles to put on the grid that you just chopped down. And kids love this. It makes eating vegetables so much fun for them because they just love the noise that any veggie set kind of makes. They can take their fist and push it down, and it's super fun and really safe for them to be using. Obviously, I wouldn't have them put their hands near the blade, but once you close it, it's really fun for the kids to go ahead and chop it right down. So that's one tool I want to talk about. The next one, well, here we just have, these were purchased shredded carrots. And then I went ahead and put the shredded ones right on my board and just chopped them up a little bit more. Because again, I like things pretty fine when they're in the salad. And then with the seedless cucumber, I used the chopper. And this is a purple radish. Radishes are delicious. They're crisp. They add a really nice texture and flavor to your salads. So with the radish, what I went ahead and did is I already peeled this one. And what I used first was a mandolin. And again, mandolins can be very, very sharp. So never have a child use a mandolin. They're very sharp. And when you use a mandolin, you don't want to like grip something and put your hand going toward the blade. You always want to be back away from it and then slicing away from you and down. And when you get to the bottom, a mandolin, you really should use the guard. So what I went ahead and did with these radishes is I sliced them real thin first. And this really takes making a salad, it really takes a lot of time out, and it also makes it a little bit more fun. So now I have this pile of thinly sliced radishes, and then I'm going to go down this pile and make even thinner slices, just one slice across. And now I have shredded, now I have some shredded pieces. So it's, again, it just adds a nice variety and texture as you're making a salad. And you can always change it up by which vegetables you have in which chopper. So I'm going to add the rest of the radishes. Next, I have green onion, which were just simply sliced straight down. And the next thing I want to add, well, I can add my tomatoes first. And those, again, I just chopped. They're grape tomatoes. I just cut in quarters. And then here we have our garbanzo beans. I like to use low sodium ones. If you're watching your salt, always pay attention that canned vegetables and beans do contain sodium. So you want to purchase low sodium and also rinse them. It's a great idea to rinse before you use them. And then I also have steamed beets. And I'll tell the truth, these I did not steam myself. I purchased them already steamed in a plastic package. You can find them at most grocery stores. And the one thing about beets is that you will be very messy afterward. So I kind of just take the whole beet and put it right through the small chopper and press it right down. And I also hold on to the beets before I add them to the salad because they'll turn everything purple. So my next great tool is an herb cutter. And these have multiple, it's a scissor with multiple blades. And I take any herb and I just cut it over a bowl, and it makes cutting herbs so easy because you can just hold on to the end stalk and then just keep chopping away at the tops to get off all those leaves. And these scissors are great for whatever herb you're cutting. I've actually even used them to cut green onion before, or chives, cilantro, parsley. They work really, really, really well. And again, it takes the hassle out of using fresh herbs and getting all your veggies in. So I'm going to go ahead and add the dill. And the next thing we're going to do is we can add the sunflower seeds. And this is about 1/4 cup of sunflower seeds. Again, seeds can be a bit more caloric, and they have a high amount of calories, and they will have more fat. So if that's something you are watching and you're concerned, because this is with an avocado dressing, which also contains a good fat, and the seeds, maybe if you're watching your fat, maybe you want to eliminate one or the other, change up the dressing. So the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and make the dressing. And the dressing is just a very, very simple. It's an avocado, water, lime juice, vinegar of some sort. I've chosen apple cider vinegar. I've also made this with rice vinegar. And when I've made it with rice vinegar, I've also used cilantro. So just to give it a more Thai flavor. So there's lots of ways that you can change it up. This is a paring knife that has a curve on it that kind of matches up with the curve of the pit from the avocado. So it makes cutting an avocado really easy. So I slice it down the center. I go around the pit, and then you just twist. And then you're left with your pit inside. If you take your other large knife and you just tap it into the pit, you can just lift your pit right out. And so it makes it so simple. And the next thing you're going to do is just take a spoon, and I'm just sort of going to break up the avocado a little bit and then push that right into my small blender. And you can use a large blender. When I'm making just a small amount of dressing, it is convenient just to have a little bit less cleanup. So I'll use my small NutriBullet blender. And we're going to add lime juice, apple cider vinegar. You do always remember you want to shake it because a lot of it settles at the bottom. So you want to take a minute to shake it up. We'll add our salt immediately afterwards. So we'll do 2 tablespoons of vinegar. And depending upon how thick and creamy you're going to want your dressing, really depends on how much water you're going to use. Because this was kind of a large avocado, I'm probably going to use more like 3 or 4 tablespoons of water to thin this out. If you want to make this a little bit sweeter and give it a little bit more citrus flavor, the other thing you can do is use the juice of an orange in place of the water. And it really makes for a sweet dressing. It's also delicious. It's really just personal preference. And the other thing we're going to do is add our salt. And then we'll quickly blend it. And then when you're done with that, you toss it all together. And again, the last thing I'm going to add are the beets. So I happen to have dressing already made. So just for the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and just toss the one that I have already made. You're going to toss that in, and you can see in a minute that this is just such a beautiful, beautiful color. You really are serving a rainbow when you serve this. It's great for a summer picnic. It's great for a dinner. It's great for really any time of day. I actually happen to like salad for breakfast. I won't lie. So this is really a very healthy salad. The other thing that you can do is if you're not a huge fan of cabbage, you can replace the cabbage with any lettuce of your choice. And again, it's all about what sort of ways you can get in the rainbow during the day, have fresh herbs, really provide your body with lots of nutrients. I think I made this one a little too big for this bowl, so it's a little bit hard to stir it all up, but I think everybody gets the picture that it really is just a beautiful, beautiful, brightly colored salad that tastes delicious. I've never had anybody say they didn't enjoy it. I just made this the other night for a barbecue that I had made veggie burgers with, and we actually ate the veggie burgers right on the salad, and it was delicious. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm excited to hear about Mark's potato salad. So Mark, I'm turning it over to you.
Hey, thanks. Hi, Mark Cirkvenik here from beautiful Mokina, Illinois. Well, it's 87 degrees Celsius, about 30 degrees centigrade, but the difference with Abu Dhabi and Scottsdale, it's a dry heat. Yeah, right. Anyway, so I decided to be outside again today. I got so much great feedback last week from last show from folks about my backyard, and today it's a beautiful thing about living in the Midwest. The garden's changing, and the plants and everything is changing so quickly. I'm under this giant catalpa tree, and it just started flowering today. Look at these beautiful flowers. Literally standing here, and my wife said to me, the bees have found the flowers, and it just started flowering yesterday. So there's just gorgeous flowers. It's so peaceful, so relaxing to sit and listen to the bees buzzing and to watch them with a nice whole food plant-based meal. And the beautiful thing about the circle of life, you just toss them into your compost and into your mulch, and away you go. So today we're gonna make a little Greek salad. We're gonna do a Greek potato salad, and I've got my Greek fisherman's hat on. So things are looking really good in the United States in terms of COVID, and infection rates are coming down, and we're being really hopeful that next year we'll be able to travel internationally as well. So one of the many places on our list are the Greek Isles. I've never been there. I've been to several islands in the Caribbean and the British Virgin Islands. The Greek islands are on our list, as well as the Croatian islands, which we hope to do maybe next year from this September, October. I'm part Slovenian, 100% Slovenian actually, so we hope to hit Croatia and Slovenia, and then sometime go back to the Adriatic, and then sail around and hit the Greek islands. So how about taking a little virtual tour with me, a little virtual fantasy, if you will, and put in the chat those places that are on your list to travel in the future that you've always been thinking about. So put that in the chat on Facebook, and while I prepare our little Greek salad, it's a Greek taverna potato salad. I really like this salad for summertime because there is, well, first of all, we know with all of our cooking, there is absolutely no oil in our cooking. I use 0 oil, and whatever fat I take in is a part of all the plants and vegetables in our power plate. And we all take in just enough of that through that beautiful, colorful power plate. So unlike Suzanne, I did not use a mandolin or a chopper or anything like that. We just use a good old-fashioned knife, which you could use as well. Suzanne, you had me thinking a little bit about Ron Popeil's Vegematic and the slap chopper, all those gadgety things, and they work really great if you need to use those. And I love all those gadgets as well. But use the good old-fashioned knife. What we've got here is some potatoes, and these are just Yukon Golds. These are on sale, and that's what we use. And then I'm going to throw some celery in there, and just kind of mix that up a little bit. And then on top of the celery, we're going to put some beautiful oregano, and just going to sprinkle that. Got to work with the wind here, so it's just a little bit of breeze. Thank gosh I'm under the beautiful catalpa here. But we're going to put a little bit of celery in, and oh, I bet you're wondering what these guys are. So look at these. Aren't these beauties? This is lovage. Lovage. Unbelievable lovage. So this lovage, right? So we just cut this from my garden a couple of hours ago. I'm about 6'1", so it's about 4 and a half feet tall. They grow up to about 6 to 8 feet at their entire length. Lovage is in the same family as carrots and celery, the Epicea, I believe it's pronounced, family. And you could eat the flower, you could eat the leaves, the entire stalk. So maybe next month for our picnics show, I'll be doing a little salad with lovage. But today I'm going to take the leaves of the lovage, these beautiful leaves, and they're all kind of sliced up, chopped up, and I'm going to sprinkle those right on the top there. And then I'm going to put some beautiful chopped up green onions. One of the things that I have really become in tune with and just really enjoy is cooking with things that are in season. I think prior to being a vegan, I've been a vegan for about 3.5 years now, and is really cooking with the season and really kind of getting myself and my family in tune with the seasons and whatever is fresh. So lovage is fresh out of the ground. It's growing. It's a very hardy plant, by the way, as well. It grows all the way from zone 3, which is kind of northern Minnesota, if you will, northern Wisconsin, all the way to like zone 9 down there in Montgomery, Alabama, where you heard from Carolyn before. So it's a pretty hardy plant. It's very hardy over winter plant as well. So lovage, look that up, L-O-V-A-G-E, lovage. So lovage has kind of a celery taste to it. It has a little bit of a parsley taste and a little bit of an anise taste. So it's very aromatic. So if I take these little leaves here and just rub them in my fingers, it's just a beautiful citrusy smell. It's very strong and not overpowering. You could cook the entire plant saute it with some garlic and onions. You can even, at the end of the season, take the whole root and cook that up as a root vegetable. Put this in a soup. Absolutely beautiful flavor. So maybe next month, the more I'm thinking about it, we're going to make a salad with lovage for a picnic. So what else goes in this beautiful salad? Well, I'm going to take some lemon juice. You might have remember if you listen to other shows that I love fresh lemon juice, but you don't always get fresh lemons being in the Midwest or the best lemons in the Midwest. So when we do get fresh lemons, we squeeze them into ice cube trays. We then freeze them, and then I've always got some lovely fresh lemon juice. So I'm going to put a couple of tablespoons of fresh lemon juice on my salad, on my potato salad here. Now, it's called a Greek taverna salad. I call it a Greek taverna salad because from what I understand and talking with, grew up in the southwest side of Chicago, large Greek population, very typical from what I'm told, and I will be in a Greek tavern at some point in my life, that these salads are set out on a buffet in a tavern, and you walk in throughout the day, and they don't spoil, and you come in and you visit with friends and family, you get a little bit to eat, you grab some salad and other foods to eat, and you scoop yourself out some beautiful potato salad. Now, we want that for especially the warm weather because we don't want things to go rancid and make people sick. So this is really something that could sit out for a few hours on a buffet in the summertime. Let's say you're by the pool or you take it to the beach, you have to worry about refrigerating it because there really is nothing to get rancid in it. In fact, as it sits in all these beautiful spices and vegetables and lemon and so forth, it's going to even build in flavor. I would, in fact, recommend that if you do refrigerate this, let's say you're going to eat some leftovers, that you put it out for a little bit and let it warm up to room temperature. Just burst the flavor a little bit more. So we've got our lemon. We've added to that. Now I'm just going to take a couple of grinds of pink salt in that, and then we're going to take some fresh ground pepper, just to your taste, and then mix that up. And then I've got one more ingredient. So the lovage isn't in the recipe. That was something, guys, I wasn't planning on because it's fresh right today. And sometimes we're going to go to the market and we may go shopping for something that doesn't look good. So, for example, we went today to look for parsley, and this market we went to, parsley just wasn't looking good. So decided not to buy it. So go to the grocery store and think about those and find those vegetables, that produce that looks fresh, it looks good. And then buy that, take that home and do a recipe. Especially if you're in areas where there's a short growing season and things have to be trucked a long way. Don't buy the stuff that's really, a tropical type of a vegetable or fruit, and you're shipping it, to a northern climate. It might not be the freshest. Go to the farmers market, especially this time of the year, throughout the Midwest and the East and the Southeast. Farmers market are so popular. We're headed up to upstate New York in a bit, and we're looking for farmers markets, hoping to find some really great. In fact, we have found some really great farmers markets in the Seneca Finger Lakes area. Do that type of thing. Look for those fresh vegetables. Create your meals around what's fresh and not around that recipe. So, and quite frankly, folks, 4 years ago, I would have never said that. But something that I learned, and it just makes being a vegan just so much more tantalizing and interesting. So there's my potato salad, my Greek taverna potato salad. Because I used yellow potatoes, it even looks like it might even have some olive oil on it, right? Because it's got that kind of goldeny color to it. Because again, Yukon Gold potatoes, which will have a little bit of a buttery taste to it as well. They surprisingly blend really nicely in this salad. So I'm going to plate some up, and I've got a special little addition, again, from my garden that I wasn't planning on until this morning when I looked at the garden. So I'm going to plate some of this up, get my lovage out of the way here. And, I loved one of the things Nancy was talking about earlier as well in terms of weight loss. Probably it's one of the most popular classes that I run is no calorie counting weight loss. And I have been a yo-yo dieter my entire life until I found veganism. I've lost just about 40 pounds at this point and have kept it off over 3.5 years, and never thought at almost 60 years old I could say that. And it's really easy because I don't have to count calories as long as I eat off that power plate: grains, legumes, vegetables, fruits, and grains, and eat whole plants, whole foods, right? So there's my beautiful potato salad, and now what I have is some blossoms from chives. Aren't those so pretty? And they taste like onions, and they just add some beautiful color. I'm just gonna pluck. Get out of there, Lovage. Look at my Lovage wants to jump in that. Wants to jump in my plate. It's so excited to be part of my dish here. I'm gonna just sprinkle on an individual plate here, bunch of chive blossoms, and then you've got another little splash of color there. Doesn't that just look lovely? I'm gonna give this a little taste. The first thing that I notice in terms of sensation is the crunchiness, and then the lemon hits, and then the aroma and the freshness of the Lovage, a little bit of the bite of the anise from the Lovage as well, and a little bit of pepper, and a hint of very light of onion from the chive. So there you have it, our Greek Taverna potato salad. And now on to Susanna Dickman in Evansville, Indiana. Take it away, Susanna.
Thanks, Mark. Wow, I love potato salad, so that is definitely one I'm going to have to try. I may have to, next time I'm visiting Chicago, stop by and pick up some of the Lovage that you're growing in your garden. So welcome to my kitchen. I, again, am Susanna Dickman from Evansville, Indiana, and I'm going to make a summer staple that I remember growing up, except the macaroni salad that I ate growing up was laden with mayonnaise and was very fatty and didn't have as many beautiful fruits and vegetables that I am going to put in my salad. And just a little history about, I looked up, I wanted to find out what's the history of macaroni salad. And I learned quite a bit about it. The first thing I learned that in New Zealand and Australia, they make a macaroni salad, but they call it pasta salad. In the Philippines, macaroni salad is actually a sweeter dish, and it's often used as an appetizer or even dessert, and they serve it around Christmas time. In the United States, in the Washington Post in 1930, the first macaroni salad recipe was actually published, and it was actually called a mock potato salad. A lot of German immigrants coming to the US brought potato salad made with mayonnaise, and so someone decided that, hey, let's swap out the macaroni for the potatoes and make a macaroni salad. My macaroni salad isn't going to have a high fat laden mayonnaise. It's going to have a homemade mayonnaise that I made. And there are a lot of different vegan and plant-based mayonnaise recipes. I've included the one that I've used, and I use a combination of white beans and cashews. I like, you can use all the cashews and no beans, but I like adding that extra kick of fiber in it. And I just think that the white beans add a creamier texture. So this, you can see I've already blended this in my Vitamix, and I'm going to add a few other things to it to make the dressing for our salad. I've got I went ahead and cooked the whole container of macaroni pasta because I have a big family and pasta is one of their favorite things to eat. So I'm going to put some peas, and these are just frozen peas. I don't have to cook them, but I'm going to put some peas in here. I've got red pepper. So you can see you're going to be getting all the antioxidants from all of the different veggies that are in here. Red onion. I love to use red onion instead of white or yellow because red onions actually have that purple color. They have more antioxidants. I've got some green pepper, And celery. I love celery in just about any salad. I love the extra crunch. And then, whoops, I like to put some grated carrot in my salad too. So you can see we've pretty much got all the colors of the rainbow in our salad. Before I mix that up, I'm going to make my dressing. As I said, you'll get the recipe for the dressing. This is a combination of beans and white beans and cashews and some apple cider vinegar. And I'm going to add to this some plain white vinegar, some maple syrup, and about 2.5 tablespoons of yellow mustard. So let me get that poured. There's one, another one, and I'm just going to use this and do about a half. Okay, you really couldn't put too much in. Let me go ahead and mix this up, and then we are going to put this in our salad. This is, again, this is something that we like to make in the summer at my house because it is easy and, we don't really heat up the house and, just with making the pasta. Since we don't have mayonnaise to worry about, it's portable. You can take it out. I'm going to whip this a little bit. You can see it's getting incorporated better. And I'm going to put just a sprinkle of salt and pepper. If you're not eating salt, then, of course, leave it out. I like to add just a tiny bit and then, taste it and then add more as you go along. This salad now, you can eat it right away, but it will taste better when you let it sit in the refrigerator for up to 3 hours or even overnight. So it's a great salad to make the night before and then enjoy it the next day. So there is my dressing. Oh my goodness. And now let me get my other spoons because this is going to take some work to mix up. But you can see I love, just like Suzanne's salad, all the different colors of the rainbow. It's so good. And there we go. It is just about done. With every bite, you'll get a crunch of the onions and the red peppers and the peas. If you don't like a certain vegetable, I know some people don't like peas that much, then of course you can skip them. If you'd like to add something else, you can put an orange pepper or a yellow pepper. You can mince your carrots so that they are a little bit, you get the crunch from that. But that is all. It is so easy. Like I said, put this in the fridge for up to 3 hours overnight. And this is great with bean burgers on the side, carrot dogs, any other type of summer grilling that you're going to do. So thank you so much for watching our show. And I'm going to hand it off to Angelita, and she is going to be making a Mexican sweet corn salad. I can't wait to see that. It sounds awesome. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Amazing. I happen to really enjoy macaroni salad. That was one of my favorite salads growing up, and that'd be perfect for a picnic or when I take long drives. So I really appreciate that. Hi, my name is Angelita Hughes, and today I will be making a Mexican street corn salad. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Mexican street corn, but it's corn on the cob. They usually have it on a skewer, and it is layered with mayonnaise and lime and some type of hot sauce, and usually cheese they put on there as well. It's cojita cheese, or sometimes I use queso fresco. So growing up, when we would go visit our family in Mexico, we would always stop by the street vendors that sold the elotes, is what we call them. And when I transitioned to this way of eating, that's one of the things that I really, really missed. So this is my recipe to still be able to enjoy those beautiful flavors. And the recipe is in the link, but I'll give you a few pointers as I'm going through. And if you want to make the dressing and then just put that on the actual corn itself, if you're grilling, please feel free to do that. I did it this way in a salad because sometimes people have problems with their jaw, or they just don't like to get their hands dirty. So it's totally up to you. So what we start with is with 6 cups of roasted corn. I like the Silver Queen corn, which is the white corn, but yellow corn is fine, or if you're lucky enough to find one that has both yellow and white, that works well. In one of the markets here, I was able to find one that's yellow and white. And I roasted mine in the air fryer. And this is how it turned out. So I removed it from the corn husk and I took off the silks. I let it sit in some water for about 10 minutes, and then I put it in my air fryer at 400, and I turned it halfway, cooked it for 20 minutes, turned it halfway, and this is what I got. It's perfectly grilled. It's still so sweet. And so then 1 corn equals about 1 cup of corn kernels. So I got 6 of them. And everyone has their own way of removing the corn kernels from the corn cob. I have this knife, which is flat here at the bottom. And this helps me because the corn doesn't get stuck like it would on a traditional knife. So it slides right through. But feel free to use whichever knife you like, or whatever method. And this is what I do. I cut it first on one side, make it flat, make sure you're standing away from where the knife comes out. And there you go. You've got beautifully cut. You just put that in your bowl. Now, because I do not like waste, because I do not like waste, I'm still going to be able to get some more corn out of this. As you can see in here, that still has a lot of corn. So with the back of your knife, put it inside your bowl, and with the back of your knife, you're going to scrape down, and then the little sweet kernels that are stuck, that were left behind, will slide right out. I suggest you do it in the bowl because they are full of juice and it'll get all over your kitchen. And if you're like me, keeping clean down to a minimum is very, very important. So you get that out of the way. Usually I just put this in my compost pile. I've got a lot of deer that run around in my backyard, and sometimes I will leave a little bit of the corn on there so that I'll have something to nibble on. So you get it all mixed in there, and this is about 6 cups. I like that I have some of the bigger pieces in there, but you can mix it until it's all little single individual kernels. It's all up to you. So what we're going to do now is we are going to make the dressing. It's very simple. It's 1 cup of vegan mayonnaise. And remember, we're going to use this in 6 cups of corn. If you don't like mayonnaise, you can use the silken tofu and then just follow the ingredients and you'll have the same outcome. Just make sure that you put the silken tofu in a blender to get it really, really smooth. Add your ingredients into that and then just let it marinate. I would say probably overnight so the tofu can soak up all the flavors. But anyway, so here is the mayonnaise. And you can do half mayonnaise and half silken tofu if you prefer that. You're going to add 3 tablespoons of lime juice. And you're just going to mix that until it's well incorporated. And what we're doing is we're thinning it out. And in Mexico, when you get the street corn, it does have lime. There's something about the lime that gives it that authentic flavor. I've tried it with lemon juice. It's not the same. You can also zest your lime. Make sure it's an organic lime and it's been washed really well. You can use the zest and put it in this dressing as well. Probably, I would say maybe a tablespoon of that. That would just enhance the flavor even more. So you're going to mix this and you're going to reserve a 1/4 cup of the lime juice and the mayonnaise. Okay, so just reserve that. Set that to the side. What you have left is 3/4 cups, and you're going to add your adobo sauce, which comes from your canned chipotles. Feel free to use whichever chipotles you like. If you don't want to do that, you can use like a Cholula, a Valentina, Red's Hot sauce, whichever is your favorite. I like the chipotle again because it gives it more authentic flavor. You're going to pour that in there. And this is going to be a bit spicy. If you do not like it spicy, you can substitute this with 1 tablespoon of sweet smoked paprika. It'll give you the color, it'll give you a hint of the flavor, but it will not give you any of the spice. You can also do half and half. 2 tablespoons of the chipotle, 1 tablespoon of the chipotle, 1 tablespoon of the paprika, and you will be good to go. If you're going to put this on the corn, on the cob itself, this is what it's going to look like. And then you just drizzle that over your corn or dip it, whichever one you like. Okay, so now this is done. We're going to pour this into the corn. You can use all of it, you can use some of it, all depending on how you like it. I like mine saturated with it. And then the other thing is, the longer this sits, the better the flavor. So if you're having a picnic, you can do this in the morning or the night before, and then the next day, it's just amazing. All the flavors have been incorporated in there. It's absolutely delicious. All right, so you mix it in there, and it doesn't take long. And there we go. This is what it looks like. And what we do now is we make our salad mix, which is purple cabbage and green cabbage and purple onion. It's not in the recipe, but one thing that I really like to do is I like to put my cabbage and my onion in an ice bath. I just leave it in there for maybe 5-10 minutes and then take it out. It kind of takes a little bit of the bitterness of the cabbage and the onion away, but it still keeps it crispy. And I have washed my hands, and so all you do is you just mix these together with your onion. You can put it in a big bowl, you can put it on a platter. And this mixture right here also goes really good on tacos, in a sandwich. If you don't want to use all of it, I keep some of this in my fridge just like this mixed up. And I use that for tostadas. It's just a quick way to have something on hand to be able to prepare my meals quickly. So here we go. We take a little bit of the salad mix. You're going to take some of your corn, put it right on top. Sprinkle your cilantro over it. If you like cilantro, if you don't like cilantro, you can use parsley if you don't like either one of those, you can leave it like that. You can use the tops. You can use chives for this as well. And so with the remainder of the dressing, just mix it. And then you're just going to drizzle that on top. Not a lot, just a little bit. And someone has moved my stuff. And then you're going to take your nutritional yeast and you're going to sprinkle it on top as much as you like. Or you can also use the vegan feta cheese. I believe it's BioLife that sells one. You can crumble that up and just kind of sprinkle it on the top. Squeeze a little bit more lime, and you've got a wonderful summer salad. And this is what it looks like. I apologize about my nutritional yeast. I don't know what happened to it. It's what happens when your husband comes into your kitchen. Anyway, so thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And now I'm going to hand you back over to Dilip for any Q&A. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right, that looked really good, Angelita. I can't wait to try that. Locally organic corn is available in my market, so I'm shopping right after the show, so I'm maybe going to try your dish. So there were so many great things that we saw today, so let's bring some of us back in for Q&A. All right, hi guys.
Hey.
I learned so much from each one of you. I was in awe by a lot of what you guys presented. So we're here live with questions. If you're watching this live, please post your questions. And if you're watching it after the fact, you can still post and we'll see them. And I have some questions I wanted to start with. So Carolyn, you know what I'm going to ask you is that I knew that device you were using. I didn't know how to pronounce it, the Shenhua. And so Shenhua, I'd like you to talk a tiny bit more about that. And then there were some really good questions that came in about, can you work with frozen berries? And I answered that as long as you have a high-speed blender or a powerful blender like a Vitamix or a, what's the other one? It's probably fine, but you should be careful with a regular blender. And then can you talk about other berries? Can you use other berries for this dish?
Yes. Okay. So a chinois is used mostly in French cooking to make soups and sauces as creamy as you can get them without any graininess to them. And so any kind of berry would work in here. In fact, the day my husband proposed to me many years ago, we had dinner that night at a very fabulous restaurant that was quite well known in Nashville, Tennessee. And I think it has closed a long time ago, but it was one of those places with a prefix menu where you pay and you get like a 5-course dinner. And our very first course was a creamy, cold raspberry soup. Oh my goodness, one of the best things I've ever had. And it very much reminds me of this. So and they had run things through a chinois. And so it was no seeds. And so you don't get any of the seeds in it. You could use raspberries, blackberries, any kind of berry in it. I think you could probably also do it with peaches. And somebody mentioned that to me today when I was talking about, I was at the farmer's market and ran into some friends and mentioned what I was cooking. And somebody said, oh, I bet you could do that with peaches. I think you probably could whirl some peaches up and blender and run them through the chinois just to get any fibrous bits out of it and make it super creamy. So I think I've also seen it used in things like potato soups. Like if you cook some potatoes and run them through you don't really want to run them too much through a blender, but chop them up and then put them in. You can do all kinds of things through this strainer, but it's just a super fine mesh as compared to like a regular mesh strainer that you might rinse fruits and vegetables off in. This is just, it looks like when you look really closely at it, 2 or 3 different layers of mesh layered over each other. So the seed can't get out, but everything else can. So, and that's why you use the pestle to just push it through. But I think you could probably, I want to try peaches next, actually, because peaches are about come in season here in Montgomery, and we already have peaches, actually. So I think I might try a chilled peach soup next.
That sounds really good, Carolyn. I had a question though. When you were talking about peaches removing some of the fibrous bits, why would you want to remove the fibrous bits and not enjoy the fiber?
Well,
I would think that if you have the peach pureed, that it would, the glycemic index would increase.
that's probably true. So I think you want to eat it slowly, just like when we have smoothies.
Smoothies.
We sip them slowly and don't just glug the whole thing down, because yes, you're going to raise your glycemic load a little bit with that. This is a dessert, so it's dessert. Remember, I said it's like being on a cruise, so it's dessert. So yes, you're not going to remove. You don't want to remove all the fiber, and still everything is still coming through, all those nutrients. The thing about this is it just takes the seeds out. So you just want this soup to be smooth and creamy and kind of succulent. I mean, it's a really nice dessert soup. So obviously my favorite way to eat strawberries is just to eat them whole like this. I absolutely love strawberries, but I wanted to show you too, this is what was left, and I don't know if you can see it. This is what was left in the bottom. It's this thick, sludgy stuff of mostly seeds. And so that's what comes out of the chinois. Of the 4 cup strawberries, it's just a little bit that's left, and it's mostly seeds and very, really just seeds. It's like a sludge of seeds. So I don't know what would happen. I've never tried it with peaches, but I do want to try it just to see what would happen. Just run them through the chinois and see how creamy I can get a peach soup. I doubt there will be this much stuff left. So
I got a question for Carolyn.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you know that your husband was going to propose to you when he took you to that lovely restaurant?
Well, so he actually proposed to me at sunrise that morning, and then he
whoa, that's too much information.
TMI. No, actually, I thought he was going crazy, and he said, we have to go somewhere. I was like, what? And so we went up to this place overlooking all of Nashville. It's like a hill that was called Love Circle. And then he had the entire day planned. So that night, it just ended that night at the Mad Platter is what it used to be. I think it closed a long time ago, but yeah. So we had a whole big day planned of activities. So yeah, I did suspect though that he was going to propose.
I know Carolyn's husband as well. Another very sweet person, perfectly matched for you, Carolyn.
Yes, he's a keeper. It's been 27 years, so yeah, I think he's a keeper.
Karen, one thing I love about doing these shows is it's not just you, Karen, it's everybody. It's Carolyn, Denise, Mark, Susanna, everybody. I learned so much from everybody. And so one thing that I love about all your presentations, Karen, is you have such a deep knowledge, not just of the food, but the way the food is grown. And it's funny because yesterday I was having my daughter help me. I have a bad back. I prefer not to bend. So I said, sweetie, can you get the watermelon out of the bag and put it on the counter? And I said, let's first wash it. I was washing it with soap, and she thought that was kind of a little bit extreme. And I said, well, you never know where the watermelon's been. It's been in the ground for sure. And so I noticed yesterday I had not one of my watermelons, but I had a cantaloupe, and it had, just like you were saying, it was fine for a couple of days, but yesterday it wasn't quite ready yet, but it was starting to get black splotches, and that clearly is what it is, what you were talking about. So can you talk a little bit more about care of melons before you eat them? I know you said some of this in your presentation, and also can you talk about the density of melons? Because and by the way, Beverly is sharing a comment here about that French thing. My friend's mom made her tomato soup with it, the strainer. But could you talk about density? Because yesterday when I shopped, I couldn't get organic watermelons. So I had the existing watermelon, which was organic, and it was really dense and heavy. And what I bought yesterday was much lighter. Was it a variety thing, you think? Or is there something about organic practices which make them denser? You're muted, Karen.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm not sure if organic versus inorganic has anything to do with that. I mean, maybe ripeness does. Did you open it? Or is it the one that you didn't open yet?
Yeah, it's the one I didn't open yet.
Yeah,
so the organic one is not opened yet.
Okay. Yeah, when they're really, really ripe, they're going to be heavier and more watery, more sweetness. But like the longer ones, as opposed to the rounder one, I think the longer ones are supposed to be. I think they're the male ones, and don't quote me on that. Male versus female. I think the round. I know the rounder ones are supposed to be the sweetest ones. One of them is male, one of them is female. The longer ones are more watery and not as sweet. But I think the heaviness comes from being really ripe. And what was the other part of it?
Oh, can you talk more about care of melons if you see black splotches? Because you talked about this, and when I washed it, the black splotches were still there. But you were talking about cutting and being careful when you cut. So can you talk more about that? When you have a melon, what should you be watching out for on the skin?
And mostly, so those smooth melons, it's not as much of a problem. Like if you just rinse it with water, you'll probably, everything will come off. But it's like the cantaloupe has the webbing where bacteria can get trapped in there. And then if you do, put your knife through it, you will bring that bacteria into the flesh of the melon. So cantaloupe's really, it's always a good idea to wash everything. But cantaloupe it's more important than the other ones to really scrub it and get that bacteria off if there is any.
Yeah, in my case, I couldn't get it all off, and so when I cut it, I guess maybe what I should do is cut it just a little bit, and then remove the peel, and then wash my knife, and then continue cutting, because you don't want to bring that into the fruit.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Yeah. Thanks. I always love all your details. Denise, you made a really good point that I wanted to amplify on. I try very hard to keep, all the fiber as possible, but you made a point that when you were cutting away the citrus and you left some of the pieces with fiber, and you made a good point. You said, but look at all the beans, look at everything else in here. So if we take away some of the not as tasty parts, it's not a big deal. One of my bad habits is almost every morning I have fresh squeezed orange juice or tangerine juice. I love it. And I know that that's not a healthy thing to do. You should blend the orange, but I like fresh squeezed orange juice. So what I do is I kind of put my fingers through the sieve of citrus thing, and I eat the fiber. And that's kind of the compromise I make. But could you talk more about those kinds of choices you make when you cook in terms of compromises and ways to, because you at some point have to decide that maybe this part of the fruit or vegetable is not contributing as much flavor or maybe detracting from it.
Yeah, exactly. And so one of the things I'm really conscientious about is that when I'm doing something like something that has a lot of, in this case, oranges, for example, that for anybody who has some sort of blood sugary kind of spikes or whatever, I want to temper that with something that will give you a leveler. And in this case, that's the beans, because the fiber of the beans is going to slow down some of that sugar rush that you might get. And I think it's a really good point, because for me in particular, one of the reasons that I was really drawn into plant-based eating, and particularly, was just basically to control a ravenous appetite and temper that with some really good eating habits that were going to keep me healthy. And so what I've really learned to do is that you need the fiber in order to keep the bulk happening, in order to keep you full, eating less and fuller for longer. So I think you do have to weigh things out. It's one of the reasons personally, my husband can get a little bit wayward with a blood sugar spike. So we're really conscientious of things like smoothies that don't have the fiber. But if you eat the big bowl of fruit, that's going to carry you forward a little bit longer. So I think you really do want to be conscientious of that. I love your idea about eating just taking the fiber out of that and eating that, because I think we need to be making those kinds of compromises, but also really thinking about the impact of that. In my case, it's sort of like, okay, I need to stay fuller for longer. And so something like the salad I made, that might be something, if I were going somewhere where I knew there was going to be a lot of food served, I might eat that before I left, just so that I wouldn't be so drawn into all of the, maybe it's all good vegan food, but we all know there can be those real traps. So if that's going to keep me from grabbing a big handful of nuts or something and overeating in that way, I can temper that with something that's a lot more filling.
Yeah, that's great advice. Eat before you go to, if you go to a restaurant, restaurants, even vegan restaurants, tend to be higher in fat. And so be aware of that.
Yeah.
One thing I like to do too with smoothies is or in general, cinnamon is this like miracle because cinnamon tastes so sweet, but cinnamon actually reduces the glycemic load of the food, which is unbelievable. You're getting sweetness and it's actually being absorbed much more slowly in your bloodstream. And so putting a little bit in a smoothie, for example, or anywhere, and then sipping your smoothie, not gulping it down like a drink, but enjoying it over an hour or more. And I know smoothies are, I shouldn't say controversial. There's only one person I can think of, a well-known person in this field who argues against smoothies. Most other people really like it. Smoothies are great because you can put all sorts of stuff in and get a concentrated food. Just don't gulp it down. Mark, I wanted to ask you about lovage. I've had lovage, but only a few times, and I know people who've watched our show are going to be inspired, but lovage is kind of not in every grocery store. So can you talk about when you I recently discovered some nice Chinese vegetables that a local farmer grows, and I've known about him at the farmer's market, and now his products are available in my co-op. So can you talk about things like lovage, maybe mention a few other products that aren't so commonly available and what we can do where we live to acquire such products?
Yeah. So one of the things that I do. I mean, I just love farmers markets, for example. I think you hit spot on because, especially farmers markets where there's going to be a lot of the what do you call it? The organic farmers that really enjoy their produce and are producing, and you'll talk with folks, that they enjoy their work. They are doing it as part of a mission, their personal mission, and this is a livelihood and this is a way of life. So one of the things, like when we started going to farmers markets, and it wasn't really that long ago, probably 10, 15 years ago, when we really started going to farmers markets, when we were still vegetarians, a pescatarian, so I was eating fish and cheese and dairy. But was one of the things that I found was purple potatoes, for example. I mean, you kind of think of the Yukon Golds, which, by the way, when I was a kid, Yukon Gold, it was the russet potatoes and it was the white potatoes and the russet potatoes, right? And maybe some red potatoes. But purple potatoes, it's, I don't know if there's that much different of a taste to them, but it certainly adds a different color to a dish. I love fingerling potatoes are another great.
Let me chime in. The flavor is entirely different. The purple potato has sometimes a bitterness.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't experienced that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's a variety. Yeah.
Actually, I take that back. I was thinking purple sweet potato, which has totally.
Purple.
Yeah. Sorry, you're right.
So I'm one of those vegan cooks, vegan lifestyle people. I don't like sweet potatoes. I don't like the texture. I tell my I tell all my students that too. But I'll make it and I'll show it to you, and it's really good for you. But no. Give me a sweet potato pie. That's a whole different story. I will make it. I just don't like sweet potatoes like in a soup or plain old. I don't like the texture. That's the only vegetable I don't like. The other one. And oh my God, we just got a big handful of them. Are garlic scapes, right?
Love garlic scapes.
Oh my God! So that's not something that you find in your usual
farmers markets have them,
but it's farmers market. And I just sent around to all my friends here in our Food for Life, so many cooks group, a picture of me with a whole fan of collard greens. I mean, these collard greens were like, I got pretty big hands, like 3 times the size of my hands. So maybe I'll post it on the So Many Cooks page. But this local farmer, it's a family-owned kind of old school farmer, and they've gotten to know us now, and they're like putting stuff on the side. It's really very sweet. But the garlic scapes, I should have brought those to the. I mean, we're like.
They're beautiful.
3 feet high. So that's another thing that. And broccoli rabe. Right? Broccoli rabe isn't one that you can always find. It's it's a broccoli. It's in the broccoli family. Actually, my lovely wife and assistant is sous chef has got some garlic. Look at the size of these garlic scapes. I mean, you could.
And they're cheap at the farmers market.
Yeah. And this guy, I mean, I don't think they charge this for a whole. Maybe $1 for like a whole big bunch of them, you know,
Yeah.
and it just adds such a lovely depth of flavor. And you know what really cool is, you know, I'm wondering how lovage and garlic scapes in a pesto might go. You know, I'm just having this brainstorm here, right? Because lovage has that, you know, really deep celery flavor. It's the anise, and you know, um,
Maybe a
so
little fennel with it too.
fennel, yeah, fennel would be a lovely because that licorice anisey flavor would be, you know, lovely. But you know, explore and check things out, and you know, I recently and talk to people. You know, I recently found this grocer not too far from us. So just fascinating is this as veganism continues to, you know, take foot in our society. This gentleman opened up an organic market about a half hour from us because he was diagnosed with cancer in 2012, and he recently opened up this organic market. He's open year round, and was chatting with him, and just really, you know, people that move into the space of organic vegetables, produce. Um, there's a clear passion. So form that relationship, and I can't underscore enough what I talked about in my segment is, you know, go to a market and shop looking for things that are fresh and that are enticing. Don't go necessarily, I mean, you want to go with some recipes, right? Because you want to make some certain things, but really go to explore
Be open.
and be open to what's there. Grab what's fresh and go home and look up a recipe. Google it, come back to so many cooks, go to pcm.org.
I agree. I know, you know, at my co-op, they all know me, and so I remember, you know, these Chinese vegetables as an example that they started carrying recently. When I walked in, the produce manager was excited to show it to me, and he said, "Here, take it. There's no charge for it, and see what you can come up with." And so it's in everybody's advantage. And I think that's one thing that all of us bring to the table here is to show how easy plant-based eating is, and feel free to play. Give yourself permission. I mean, the kitchen to me is a sandbox where you can experiment.
Yeah,
And
Dylan, if I could say just one more thing with
sure,
in terms of the ease and the having to chop up vegetables and everything. You know, this question came up to me. I was talking about just finished a series, a Kickstart series, as they actually call it, no calorie no calorie counting weight loss. And I was talking about how we went out of town for 5 days and I took all our food with us because we were serving a medical mission in Central Appalachia, and we kind of knew that there wasn't going to be vegan food. So we took a whole big cooler full of food with us. And one of my students says, "Well, that's a lot of work." And I said, "You know what's more work? Is getting heart disease, diabetes, be on dialysis." And everybody was kind of shaking their head and saying, "You know, Mark, you're absolutely right." I says, "You know, I'd
wow.
much rather pack a cooler than have to go to dialysis or have my chest ripped open." I mean, it sounds, you know, I'm kind of in your face with that kind of a comment, but it's really like putting your seatbelt on when you get in the car. You know, that's, you know, there's no guarantee that I'm not going to get cancer, heart disease, diabetes,
But
but
you're
my risks have gone
greatly reducing the
way down.
chances.
They've gone way down, like when I belt my seatbelt on and I don't smoke.
And not just that, but longevity,
Right,
right?
right. I want to die
Longevity.
well too. I think Dr. Michael Greger talks about dying well.
Yeah.
I helped 6 people out of this world and they died
Oh,
terribly.
I'm
Just
sorry about that.
horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, and that's one of our motivations
Yeah.
to being whole food plant based and me running my business. Let's eat great food. It's about you really want to help people die well because we're all going to die. Let's face it.
Yeah.
You know, but let's die well.
And by the way, in a minute, we'll have one of us tell you more about what is food for life. But all of our work is evidence-based, and you can look it up. But there's been several Adventist studies, health studies, that have shown longevity. And I probably shouldn't be so loose about this. I should probably be having it in front of me. But I think that the studies show that vegetarians live, I think, 6 years longer than others, and vegans live 7 and have much better end-of-life experiences. It's not a lingering, you know, debilitating illness in general. So we'll talk about food for life in a minute. Speaking of that, Suzanne, I wanted you to talk about, when we were talking about flexibility, you made a very traditional macaroni salad and it looked great. Can you talk a little bit about substitutions in terms of pasta? So there's this misnomer, I think, among, for example, diabetics and others that, well, we really shouldn't eat pasta. And of course, we all know better than that. If you're low-fat, plant-based, you know, pasta's fine, and you know, the only things to watch out for are pineapple and watermelon. Be in moderation because they're so high glycemic. but you can enjoy those as well. Just don't go overboard with them. So in terms of your macaroni salad, have you experimented with other kinds of pastas, whole wheat pastas, rice pastas? And I ask you because one thing I'm lucky to be involved with is I host the country's biggest vegan Thanksgiving. We have in one seating about, one extended seating over 600 and all day, the whole thing, even more. So the restaurant I work with, making such huge quantities, they don't use certain pastas like rice pastas because they find it gets too mushy. And so we usually stick with a wheat pasta, or sometimes we do a vegetable pasta. So can you talk a little bit about pasta, please?
hmm Yeah. So my oldest son loves pasta and will eat it every day. So there's actually a corn pasta that is, to me, it cooks more like the whole wheat or the white pasta, where it would be great in a cold salad because it stays together. You're right, the rice pasta, although I do use a rice and quinoa pasta when I make a mac no cheese. My goodness, there is black bean pasta and red lentil pasta. Red lentil pasta also kind of keeps the texture, the chewy texture. And so I would, encourage people to experiment, to look at their grocery store. And I like to look, you can buy it even at Target, stores that aren't typical grocery stores. Sometimes they'll have different types of pasta on sale. And so I will pick up, a couple of packages if it's half price and not as expensive. And as you said, Dilip, actually, pasta, because it's compressed, when you eat whole wheat pasta or even white pasta, it does not break down as quickly in your body. So it does not increase your sugar levels. And if I could say, Mark, your garlic skates, we have a farm share that we go to every week. And so I made a pesto because we had about 10 garlic skates, and it actually used white beans too. And it was really great. Now, I did use some walnuts and pine nuts, but it was just something whenever we try a new recipe, it's like, oh, this was good. We need to make changes. This one was like, my husband immediately said, okay, we need to make this again. We need to not lose this and, just make a few tweaks. But, the pesto, we ate it we made carrot dogs, and those are my favorite things to eat. And we put it kind of on the bun, with our carrot dog, and it was just awesome.
Sounds really good.
Yeah, it was
And,
awesome.
and Susanna, your husband Dan, he's not a Food for Life instructor, but he's also very knowledgeable, and he and you together do programs, don't you?
We do. We're gonna have one coming up at the end of June, right before 4th of July, for perfect foods to celebrate your 4th of July. We did one at before Christmas. We did a spring one, but yeah, he is a chef in his own right, and I was very lucky that we both. When I watched Forks Over Knives and said, a little over 10 years ago, and said we are going plant-based, he was like, okay, I'm in. So it's been great.
And I just flashed up the banner about our next show. So let's take a few moments just to talk about, just in general, what is Food for Life? So who would like to take a moment and tell us what is Food for Life, and maybe somebody else can tell us. Let's start with what is Physicians Committee, PCRM, and maybe you, Mark, because you have all the wonderful literature behind you. Can you tell us what is PCRM?
Yeah, so PCRM is the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Was started by Dr. Neil Barnard in 1985, and there's actually like 3 arms, at least in my last count of PCRM. There's the Food for Life instructors, which is all of us. We are all licensed by PCRM to provide this material. I think my last count was almost 70 different courses and probably about 15 different overall topic areas that we can present on. All the courses have videos that are produced by physicians and licensed dietitians, registered dietitians and nurses, state-of-the-art information, as well as beautiful food demonstrations and so forth within our communities, and now virtually because of COVID. So the other arm is they work. They're based in Washington D.C. and they work with the federal government and lobbying and really improving our education and so forth within the federal government to the general population, and then animal rights activities as well, and really working with medical schools to stop live animal and research and so forth. So it's a great organization. I think there's like almost a couple 100,000 members, and I think the last number I heard was like 17,000 plus physicians that are part of it. Lots of research. Everything we do is all evidence based, and there's a lot of meta-analysis now that PCRM has done, which is really taking multiple research studies and analyzing these multiple research studies and distilling it down to what are the real facts with respect to the impact and the benefits of a whole food plan.
Yeah, we have a conference every year, and ours is coming up in July. It's the International Conference in Nutrition and Medicine, and even though it's generally aimed at doctors and healthcare providers, if you have an interest in food and nutrition, I recommend you look into it. And last year and this year, it's virtual, so you don't have to travel to Washington. By the way, I have to interject. So Anjali Lati has been chatting a bit, and she's been asking about sweet potato glass noodles, and I discovered them relatively recently. They're either a Korean or Japanese food. I think they're Korean, and the store I bought them at, they were huge. They were really long and really tasty. So the ingredient was just sweet potatoes. The only problem, I tried to buy all organic. The only problem with this is it wasn't an organic sweet potato, but I bought it anyhow and quite liked it. I need to get that again. It was really nice. So Mark kind of covered both PCRM and Food for Life, but would somebody like to give a little bit more details on the kinds of Food for Life classes we have? And maybe Carolyn, and while you're doing that, I can bring up a banner with a link to our classes.
Sure. So Food for Life, like Mark said, it's actually an award-winning program that Physicians Committee came up with in about 2001. It's been quite a while ago that they came up with the idea. And we have about 300 of us Food for Life instructors around the world. As you saw today, we're all around the world, Abu Dhabi, Scotland, everywhere. And we have lots of class topics ranging from things like heart disease to diabetes, cancer, and even foods for fitness. But there's also a children's class series. We have a lot of different topics we can do. So we can do series of classes. We can do single class topics. Typically, Food for Life classes, since the inception of Food for Life, have been done in person. But because of the pandemic, we kind of moved online with some of those. I think people are starting to do them in person again. I'm doing them in person again at the YMCA here in Montgomery. So we're doing some for kids starting the coming week at the YMCA. So
I love the kids classes. I've done a lot of the kids classes. They're great. So, and I wanted to mention some good news is if you go to the website I put up, fflclasses.org, there's a link to upcoming to be trained, because we always get that question, how can I become a Food for Life instructor? And so finally, we haven't had trainings for a few iterations, but I just opened it up. I think it was October. There's going to be a virtual training. And so if you have interest in this space, the requirements are you need to be vegan for sure. And then you have to know how to teach cooking. You have to submit some videos of your cooking, teaching cooking, and then there's an interview and a background check. And apparently it's pretty competitive to be chosen as one. So I always feel very honored to be in this company, because everybody, certainly you guys and gals and everybody else are so knowledgeable. When I can't answer a question, I know somebody else can. Susanna, Karen.
Oh, I just wanted to go back to a couple of things that Mark and Susanna talked about. One, like most rice pasta is mushy, but there's a brand called Tinfiada. It's a brown rice pasta, and they do have organic, and it's pretty much like the texture of regular white pasta. It's good. It doesn't come out so mushy. And then Trader Joe's has their store brand. It's the same thing. And then about like travel food, I was just thinking that a lot of times when I used to fly, I would go somewhere and stop at Whole Foods from the airport, just get a bunch of Japanese sweet potatoes. Marcus, have you tried those?
I haven't.
I love that. They're by far my favorite. They're so sweet.
they're more dense than the orange ones. And and I just like bake them on some parchment paper wherever I'm staying. Just bake however many I need for each day, and all at once, and then I'll just get a bunch of greens
Oh,
and
that's nice.
some things to put out, in the box already washed, and some beans, like in the box of beans, and just make my lunch or wherever I'm going. Like a lot of trainings, I would just take my lunch like that, and it was so easy and so quick. Like you're released for lunch, and you don't have to go find some food. You just have it, and it's really easy.
That's a great point. Is sometimes if we think we don't like potato, well, there's so many kinds of potatoes. I mean, they came from South America originally, and there's, I believe, hundreds of kinds of potatoes. So if you don't like, a russet potato, try a fingerling, or try, a Yukon Gold, or a red potato, or a blue potato, or a purple potato. There are, also blue and purple potatoes. But sweet potatoes, my favorite by far is the Japanese. It's white fleshed, and it's
White fleshed. Really?
white fleshed. It's
Damn
amazing.
it. Can you go grab one?
And then there's
Yeah.
the Okinawan sweet potatoes are really good, but you can't get them organic around here. But they're purple on the inside and they're white on the outside.
Oh wow!
And
Yeah,
they're
we
either-
get them.
You get them organic?
Yes,
Do you see it on the bottom?
they're grown locally
Oh my gosh!
in North Carolina. I should send you some, huh?
I'll pay for them.
So
there's the Japanese.
It's hard to see, but it's more like a brownish burgundy. And then there's a little piece. The skin is white. These are my
Snap
favorite.
the end. Snap the end open.
Yeah. Karen, isn't this what I made your cheesecake?
Yes.
You made that last month. And oh my goodness. These are.
Yeah, can you snap it open?
Where do you find that sweet potato at?
Oh, this one I found at our local, it's Fresh Time Market. Otherwise, when we don't have a Whole Foods near us, it's about 100 miles away in Louisville, and we will go. But Mark in the Chicago area, I'm sure Whole Foods.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Farmers markets. It grows easily.
Check it out. Thank you.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
They're the best. They're the best.
So what's next? What's our next show? Mark, want to talk about our next show?
Yeah, picnics, right? Picnic food. So I think I'm going to dress up as Yogi the Bear. With my picnic basket. Hey, boo boo. So it's picnic. I keep now I'm going to have this whole boo boo thing and the Yogi the Bear in my head now. But so picnic food. So
now that you say it, your voice does resemble a bit.
Hey, boo boo. One of my mantras is, he's smarter than the average bear. So I can say that about all my friends that are on the show here. They're all smarter than the average bear. So because we're all vegan, right? And everybody's listening smarter than the average bear because you're vegan as well. You're looking forward to looking at taking care of yourself and your family. So wonderful. But yeah, so it's picnic food. So it's stuff that's transportable. It's stuff that's gonna not go rancid. Is not gonna be affected by the heat. Maybe you can make a day ahead of time, and they could sit in a basket, or even sit in a cooler for several hours while you're visiting with friends and enjoying the beautiful outdoors and celebrating getting back together with people after this last year of a pandemic.
We have a long list of topics, so we're a year and a month old now, and we still have it seems like an infinite number of topics. So stay tuned. We haven't decided future shows, but we have lots of good ideas. Do you guys know what you're making for the picnic show? I'm thinking maybe of making a French lentil cold salad, but I'm not sure yet. Suzanne, what are you thinking of making?
I'm thinking of making a broccoli salad.
Nice.
I love broccoli.
I might make a sandwich.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm thinking some kind of a mock tuna thing with. I got to figure out if I can do a lovage. So I'll be working on that recipe for the next because it's the end of July, right? We're looking.
Yep, it's like July 24th or 27th or something like that. So, and by the way, Anjali reminded me she wanted to know the brand of the chopper, and Suzanne had to go. So we will try to find out, and I'll ask Suzanne to post that because I was wondering that too. I have the same issue. Anjali was asking that I see all these choppers. I don't know which one to buy because there's so many of them, and that's true with me, and that's why I have never bought one. I think you get all these really cheap ones that says such and such onion chopper cuts everything, and it's $12. But to me, it's not a question of price; it's a question of space. And I like, I have lots of things in my kitchen, but you have to earn the right to be in my kitchen because I just don't have space. It has to, prove its worth. So, and then the last thing I'll say is that our next kids class, our kids show is next week. Our kids show is a little bit different. If you have children in your life, then please consider joining us. We always publish our recipes just before the show, but the kids show, we publish a few days in advance. And I know some people cook along with their kids with us. So that should be available hopefully by Thursday. We haven't finalized our recipes, but that's next Saturday. And the kids show is kind of different. It's not that different because the kids are doing the cooking, and then we have a Q&A with the adults, but it's only the kids on the cameras, except for the 4-year-old sometimes has, when she's on camera, her mom will help her. So does anybody have any final thoughts about another very nice show, I think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just wonderful. You even heard us learning from each other. So one of the things I always tell my students is immerse yourself in this. It could be very simple as attending the show, or it could be even setting up like Google Alerts so that you're getting information to your inbox, subscribing to newsletters. But immerse
Kickstart,
yourself.
the 21-day Kickstart.
21-day Kickstart. Yeah, if you go to PCM.org and look for 21-day Kickstart, there's an app. Checking out our websites, but immerse yourself in this information and learn about it, and look for information that's credible, like PCRM, for example, because there's a lot of information, unfortunately, that's not always the most credible, but and well-intentioned and everything, as Dr. Barnard would say. But immerse yourself in this way of life.
I think Mark's absolutely right. There's so many theories of food out there, but what I find with plant-based eating is it's not just us. There's so many people, and the preponderance of evidence. If you look at the basic literature and look at all the references, they're like pages. Whereas if you find the spurious research study that says, well, maybe meat's not terrible for you, and they have like one reference or something like that. So watch that. I really feel proud that I can be part of this, where we're sharing good evidence-based information. Suzanne or Karen, did you have any final words?
Just thanks for watching. I'm so grateful to be able to be here every month and help people on their journey to good health.
And we ourselves are still on our journeys. The journey never ends.
Exactly.
Just have fun.
That's right.
Karen, did you have any final thoughts? And
I was just saying, just have fun.
good. And Carolyn dropped, but Carolyn, we're just closing. Did you have any final thoughts to share with everybody?
No, sorry. I don't know what happened. I didn't know if it was just me or everybody else here.
And there's the guy that proposed to her 27 years ago.
That's right.
There is, standing behind me. Yeah, that's him. He's grilling corn for us, actually. I want to make him
there he is. Hey, there's a little guy.
Well, thanks everybody for watching our show. It was a lot of fun. I know I learned a lot, and we're looking forward to being back.
Oh, look at this!
He's proposing again. Goofy man. Yeah, thank you. Okay, he's back.
Well, with that, we appreciate everybody joining us. Take care and see you next time.
Bye-bye, folks.
Bye.
Bye.
So many cooks in the kitchen, so many recipes to share. So many cooks in the kitchen with meals for you to prepare. We've got fruits and grains, veggies and beans, more healthy food than you've ever seen. So many cooks in the kitchen, plant-based meals to prepare. So many cooks in the kitchen with ideas we're happy to share.